jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports.
WCS back on deck once again. You already know what it is. Big salute to the supporters over there in the chat. I see you. Big Blunts and Boxing on deck. Salute to you. Toby Bartlett on deck, man. What's good? Shaw News, the Sauce Experience, aka Showtime, the Underground King, the marketing media agent. You already know what it is, man. Shout out to Team Tucker in the building. So we want to talk about what's taking over mixed martial arts combat. You know what I'm saying? It's something that needs to be recognized, real talk. So let's get into it. UFC 280 just went off. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't talk about it because it was over in Abu Dhabi. Now, when it's over there, the fight usually come on around 1:30, something like that. It start up around 12:30, 1 o'clock, whatever. It comes on early. You know what I'm saying? So it had a fire-ass card, man. It was a fire card that just took place. And three fights I want to talk about is the championship, which is Charles Oliveira from Brazil. And, you know, he went in there and was fighting like this up-and-coming fighter that's out of Khabib the Nurmagomedov's camp, man, Islam Makhachev. And, man, god damn, it was so much hype. You wouldn't know about it unless you was on the other side following MMA. But this dude was wrecking people. This dude has been wrecking fighters, man. And there was a lot of solid hype behind him. And it was just due. You know, it was just due. And then in the main event, you know what I'm saying? In the main event, you had Aljamain Sterling, man. I'm going to get into the road he's had since he picked up the title. You know what I'm saying? Aljamain Sterling, man, went in there and did his damn thing against a former multi-time bantamweight champion, TJ Dillashaw. He went in there and stopped him. We're gonna see and talk about how that fight went down. And then the third one was Sean O'Malley going in there against Peter Young. Peter Yan was a former bantamweight champion. Of course, he lost his championship by landing an illegal knee to the head of Aljamain Sterling. I mean, people dogged Sterling out, man. He was faking it. Oh, my God, that's the only way you can pick up a belt and this, that, and the other. And see, the shit that you don't know behind the scenes always comes out, and then people want to be like, oh, shit, I should apologize for doubting this dude. You know what I'm saying? But Peter Yan, he got his rematch. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So let's start with the bottom. Let's start with Peter Yan, the former bantamweight champion, which pretty much, right, had his opportunity to have the belt around his waist. And then he came in there and he ended up fighting the mandatory, which was Aljamain Sterling. This is what I want to say first and foremost when it comes to mixed martial arts and boxing. It's no motherfucking hocus pocus in this shit. It's no magic shows with mixed martial arts. It's no magic shows, man. These fighters are in there fighting the best. And if you have a belt, this is what I love about what they're doing over here. If you have a belt, and you lose the title, they allow you the opportunity. They afford you another opportunity to step back in the cage and get it in. It don't matter if you were stopped in the first round. They afford you the opportunity to get back in there and have another shot at the title. I love it. You know, everybody's mentality in this combat sports game is not the same, because we're seeing fighters over here in MMA afforded the chance to get back in there and fight after they done took a L, because it could have been many things. They know these fighters are going through short fight camps sometime. They know it could be personal problems. They know it could be injuries, all that. But we've seen time and time and time again where these fighters who was champions, they lose their belt, and Shelby allows them the opportunity to get back in the cage and fight. It's a dynamic which is working. It's very effective. And for anybody who is covering this, who is a fan of the sport of boxing, and they refuse to watch MMA, and you're still stuck in this conundrum saying, "Oh man, I don't want to watch that, man. Guys laying on top of each other." Listen, it's not like that all the time. Nor do you totally understand what the eighth limbs are about. You don't understand what the eighth limbs are about. It provides you much more variables to attack your opponent and also to defend from your opponent. The eighth limbs is your left and right hand. The next two is your left and right feet. The next two is your left and right elbow. That's 6 right there. And the next two is your left and right knee. That is the 8th limbs of combat. Now, it used to be a 9th limb comparable to, depending on where you used to fight and where the fight was sanctioned at. And according to how early in the game that you watch combat sports, but you used to be able to headbutt. The head is considered the 9th limb of this combat art. Of course, in many organizations today, the headbutt is not allowed. But if you are in a clinch of any sort, up against the cage especially, you can use your head to maneuver and position yourselves while trying to work for arm position. You know what I'm saying? You know, you fighting for overhook, underhook, or whatever you're trying to do. But let's get down to it. Sean O'Malley, man, shout out to him. Sean O'Malley has had his, ups and downs, so to speak, in the sport. But he's still here. He would step up for his toughest test coming back from a foot injury. All right? I think he's had one fight since his foot injury or whatever. But it was a point in time where you had the tall Sean O'Malley, colorful hair and all that. People was like had a lot of big hype behind him. And he went in there in 2020 and was stopped by Marlon Vera. Now, a lot of people were saying that, man, it was just all hype, or he wasn't totally 100% healthy. So they sent him back in there the following year after he healed up and everything in March, and he fought Thomas Almeida. I was surprised at what he did to Thomas Almeida, and he stopped him with a left hand. Like, Almeida was tough, man. Anybody who knows this, knows this fighter. But Thomas Almeida, man, was supposed to be a tough fighter at the bantamweight division. He had his chances to go in there and try to get the title, couldn't do it. But Sean O'Malley shut him down. And then O'Malley would go on to win 2 more fights before stepping in there with Pedro Munoz. At this fight right here, it was ended from a freaking eye poke. You know what I'm saying? This happens. We're talking about mixed martial arts with open finger gloves. All right? These gloves are 4-ounce gloves. For boxing, the gloves are fully fitted gloves. You will find none of the fingers. Hold on for a second. You will find none of the fingers exposed outside the gloves. It's boxing. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine boxing having open finger gloves and the eye pokes and the scratches? You know what I'm saying? Totally form-fitting closed glove. You know what I'm saying? With mixed martial arts, the open finger gloves are to allow the fighters to be able to work certain positions, submissions, and everything else. And, they're 4-ounce gloves for the females and the males. For the females and the males, 4-ounce gloves. And what I like about this also, right? Because it shows that this is a sport that began to blossom in the 90s, okay? What I like about it is that the fighters don't have to worry about bringing their gloves to the fight. That don't happen. Like boxing, I always go through this glove, let me bring the glove, what glove's gonna wear, this, that, and mixed martial arts don't do that shit. They don't bring their own gloves. The gloves are there. You know what I'm saying? It's no different set amount of gloves that's there. We're talking about Paffin, Grant, Title, all that shit. They deal with one set, one brand of gloves. That's it. That is it. They monopolize the entire thing. You know what I'm saying? They're not going through all that process, the rigmarole of gloves and all that. So, Sean O'Malley steps in there after that eye poke of Pedro Munez, and they call it no contest with Peter Young. And like I said before, Peter Young was a former bantamweight champion. All right? Man's record is 16 victories, 4 defeats. Former bantamweight champion. He had a very good run when he fought Corey Sandhagen, which was another tall fighter just like Sean O'Malley. And he ended up beating him in a decision for the bantamweight championship. That's supposed to be a high. Like when you fight for the vacant championship in the UFC, vice boxing, it's just like you fought somebody for the championship that as if they was reigning defending. You don't have the language over here. Oh, you fought for a vacant. You fought for a vacant. Nobody gives a damn about that. You fought for it. You won it, and that's the way it is. Whole different type of community. So when he beat Corey Sandhagen, who had a lot of hype behind him. And if you look on the mixed martial arts scene, a lot of these fighters have losses already. Peter Young was stepping there with Aljamain Sterling. So when he was able to get his opportunity to defend his belt, you know what I'm saying? He ended up losing. Now, granted, if you know the history between the first time that he fought Aljamain Sterling, guess what? He landed illegal knee in a fight that they say he was winning. Championship fights are 5 rounds. Peter Young, I was looking at that fight. He was doing pretty damn good against Jermaine Sterling. And I think if it would have went to the 5th round, he possibly would have pulled that off. But it was taken away from him. Aljamain became champion. In order for him, this is what I'm talking about with MMA and boxing. In order for him to get back into the picture, of losing his title, he had to fight for an interim title. When he fought Corey Sandhagen, this is another thing I like. Like sometimes they include the interim title to get you back in championship status. It's almost like a mandatory in boxing, but without all the sanctioning bodies. You're guaranteed to be next. It ain't no unification. It ain't none of this other shit. If you're the interim titleist, you're going in there. Except, of course, the belt system is different. So he finally beat Corey Sandhagen for the interim. He get his shot again with Aljamain Sterling, and he loses the split decision. Aljamain was trying to tell the people that he wasn't 100%. You know what I'm saying? They refused to put Aljamain Sterling on the top 10 list when he won his championship by illegal knee. They refused to put him on the damn pound for pound list. This was back in last year in 2021. Peter Young clearly need the man when he was grounded. A grounded opponent is, per the rule setting, if a knee is on the ground, a hand is on the ground, they keep on changing it. If your opponent's knee is on the ground and have a hand on the ground, you cannot land strikes from that knee. You cannot land a knee. You cannot land a foot and kick them in the head while they're on the ground. Now, you can land a knee or a foot to their body, but you cannot strike them above the neck. And that's what Peter Young did. And he ended up again, losing his title via illegal knee. and then Peter Yan will work himself back up and get the interim title, and he would go in there and fight Aljamain Sterling in a rematch, and Aljamain had his way with him, took his back, maintained back control, had a damn good showing in there, to prove the haters wrong. And I have to say myself, I kind of was one of those people who got proven wrong. Real talk, I'll be honest with you, because I felt that the way he was going about it, it seems like he was being a little bit theatrical with it. But then again, I wasn't the one who felt the knee. But the way he came back in there and fought Peter Yan in the rematch, it erased all doubt I had. I say, damn, Aljamain is much better than I thought. You know what I'm saying? He's much better than I thought. He was talking about the weight cut he had, and he didn't rehydrate properly. It taught me something, man. So he goes in there, Peter Yan. He loses again to get his title back. So now he was going to fight Sean O'Malley. Like I said, Sean O'Malley, he has a lot of hype behind him. Peter Yan's link him up, the best fight the best, right? He goes in there and loses a split decision. Second straight loss, man. The second straight loss. In his career, he's never lost 2 times in a row. And now he loses a second time to Sean O'Malley. And I don't know what's next for Peter Yan, but for Sean O'Malley, he has a long road ahead of him. He has tough competition, for real. He has tough competition ahead if he's thinking about stepping in there against Aljamain Sterling for a title shot. Man, he has some landscape to cover. Let's get to the co-main event. All right. So if you heard me say, let me bring you to this, right? Let me share screen right quick. Let me get to the live chat too. King Mitch on deck, salute to you. Don on deck. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that, Don. Appreciate putting the information in there. Yep. Appreciate putting that information. We do have individuals that watch MMA on this too. Appreciate you. King Mitch on deck. Missed the fight last night. All I saw was beat reaction to O'Malley winning. Yeah, because the UFC is very, very strict on putting finishes out there. They have their shit locked down. If you show a portion, I mean just a small smidgen of freaking their media shit, oh man, your whole shit getting taken down. They don't play over there at the UFC, bro. Also, Bellator 1 and Glory Kickboxing allows headbutts. Yeah, Myanmar is a totally different thing, Don. You got to understand the mindset of the rules that's over there. Come on, that's totally, totally different. That is a brutal combat. Your rules are different over there, but you're absolutely right, big dog. You're absolutely right. The ninth limb is allowed. Keyman said Dana White has been around for a while. I'm sure he's seen some of the bullshit in boxing and made it a point to build a UFC without petty bullshit like gloves and other cheap advantages Camp uses. The reason why I mention is they do have a much more easier time when fighters come on deck. They don't have to go over here and go through all these gloves and people folding the gloves and beating them up against the wall. They're dealing with 4-ounce gloves, goddammit. Okay, let's be honest with ourselves. The gloves in general, whether they're 4-ounce, 8-ounce, 10-ounce, whatever, they're to protect the fighter's hands. Okay? So the smaller ounce that you have, man, you have to understand that there's a process and a technique on how you fight your opponent, how you land the strikes in mixed martial arts, your placement of your punches. You just can't go out there welling away and you break your hand on somebody's forehead with 4-ounce gloves. You know what I'm saying? So the technique of boxing in general is different with mixed martial arts. The placement is different. With boxing, it allows you to execute damn near maximum velocity and throwing your punch because of the cushion that you have with your gloves. Now, I'm not saying you can't break your motherfucking hand, but it'll take you longer to break your hand vice wearing a 4-ounce gloves in mixed martial arts. So let me share screen and show you the ranking system. And the reason why I'm showing you the ranking system is because if you look to your far left, men's pound for pound top rank, first of all, we're going to go from top to bottom. You have the man himself, the 145. Oh, my goodness. This dude is a motherfucking beast. Alexander Volkanovski. It was a point in time I didn't think that was belief, but he is the truth. He has some of the best boxing in mixed martial arts. He has some of the best boxing. Number 2 is Israel Adesanya, the style bender. You already know. He's the middleweight world champion. All right. You have Charles Oliveira, who just lost yesterday, and he was the 155-pound champion, and they was giving him a lot of hype. And I'm going to tell you why they was giving him a lot of hype once I get to the main event. Kamaru Usman, he's the 170-pound welterweight world champion. Deuce is a beast, man. You know, he's the stiff of the competition. He's shown that he can deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Until he faced Leon Edwards. You know what I'm saying? Hey, he was handling his business, bro. We saw him defeat Kobe Covington twice, Jorge Masvidal, Tyron Woodley. Man, come on. Gilbert Burns. Dude was on a streak. And then he attempted to block a mid-level body kick. And Leon Edwards went over the top, man, and clipped him. But you look where they have him, right? Number 4. I'm going to tell you, these people that's in charge of this pound for pound list in the UFC, bro, they are different animals. Okay? Number 5, Francis Ngannou. He's the heavyweight world champion. He's the heavyweight world champion. You know what I'm saying? Leon Edwards, they put him at number 6. Now you're saying to yourself, right? Check this out. When comparable to boxing, you look at the ranking system, you say, well, you know, when you're champion, you right here. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is a pound for pound list. You know, in boxing, it can be a little scramble too, because champions from different divisions can be anywhere. But when you look at the ranking systems, the champion's usually at the top. And then let's just say the champion loses, he goes back down in the 1 through 15th rankings. And then the person who beat him goes directly and take over their position. Look at Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is the current reigning defending 170-pound welterweight champion. But on the pound for pound list, we get the kind of Lomachenko effect. They are keeping Kamaru Usman on the pound for pound list because of the competition that he's faced. Leon Edwards, this is the first time he really stepped up and defeated somebody. So you say to yourself, it should be a no-brainer that Leon Edwards is above Kamaru Usman. He should be number 4. Kamaru Usman should be number 6. But hey, I don't know what these cats' criteria is. Next, Aljamain Sterling. He is the current reigning defending bantamweight world champion, 135 pounds. Dustin Poirier. This is another Lomachenko effect, right? Dustin Poirier has had ample amount of chances to pick up a strap. He's even had the opportunity recently with Charles Oliveira, and we're going to talk about him, but he was defeated again. He had the opportunity with Conor McGregor. You know what I'm saying? His opportunity with Conor McGregor, unfortunately, he was able to get the win early in his career, but ended up beating Conor McGregor twice, but Conor had no belt. He had no belt. But when he stepped in there with the Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was dominating the lightweight division, subbed out. Subbed out in round 3. And then he gets the shot at Charles Oliveira. Finished. Davison Figueiredo, man, the flyweight champion. Him and Brandon Moreno, y'all, pay attention. They about to step in there for their 4th motherfucking fight, dog. You talking about controversy where you know, we're talking about Figueiredo missing weight, you know, but still beating Joseph Benavidez, and then coming back, making weight, fighting Joseph Benavidez, who they gave ample amount of chances, defeating him, and then to establish a rivalry with Brandon Moreno. They're going on their 4th fight. Who have you known to go on their 4th fight And people really want to see the fourth fight. Why? Because it was a draw in there, people. It was a draw, but they go in their fourth fight, man. I like Davis and Figueiredo, for real. Dude, he can fight. Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka. He just beat the light heavyweight champ, Glover. I think it was Glover Teixeira. Let me see. I think it was Glover. But he's up there at number 10. You know what I'm saying? He just won the belt not too long ago. And then John Jones. Absolutely the most extreme Lomachenko effect. But you have to kind of understand how these people in the pound-for-pound list think in the UFC. John Jones has been retired from the sport, been out for months. We have people over here in boxing whining and crying about people being out since last November and they ain't fighting. John Jones is still on the pound-for-pound list just outside the top 10, and he ain't fought in a minute. This man vacated his title at 205. No one defeated him. His only loss is to a disqualification to Matt Hamill from hitting him with a 12-6 elbow. A fight that he was winning handedly, and they disqualified him. He retired, and he's waiting to return to the heavyweight division. They still had his man on the pound-for-pound list. Do you think that would be the case in boxing? Hell no. Max Holloway, the former reigning defending 145-pound champion. Man, he just stepped in there again with freaking Alexander Volkanovski, and man, it was a rock'em sock'em type fight. Max Holloway took some motherfucking damage in that shit, and he couldn't get his title back. Alexander Volkanovski proved that he's the better featherweight world champion. He's the better featherweight world champion. I like Blessed Holloway, but I think, Volkanovski has too much form. But the good thing about Max Holloway is Volkanovski is now moved up to 155. So I don't know if he's vacated his title 145, but he's moved up to 155. He's challenging. They brought him into the cage. He's challenging Islam. You know what I'm saying? Let's see how that goes. And Peter Yan, I told you, former bantamweight world champion. And then Brandon Moreno, who's supposed to step in there with Davis and Figueiredo at flyweight. You know what I'm saying? Number 9 and number 14 is going to link up real soon. And then, of course, the former heavyweight champion, Stipe Miocic. He's faced his losses, but they still have him top 15 in the pound-for-pound list. It's just sick. It's sick, right? So let's go to the co-main event, which was one of the most interesting fights of the night. So let's go to Funk Master. He's 22 victories, 3 defeats, all right? If you followed the sport, you would know that it was a point in time where he was beating the mediocre names, the starter names when he first came into the UFC. You know what I'm saying? He has wins over Takaya Mizazaki and Johnny Eduardo. And then he ran into Brian Caraway. You know the Brian Caraway who used to date Misha Tate? And, he was a pretty solid mixed martial artist, man. He lost to him via split decision. All right? So he was undefeated going in there. Undefeated. But you're not going to find too many undefeated. You're not going to find too many undefeated mixed martial artists. Mixed martial artists. And then he went in there with Rafael Sunsao, who had a lot of hype behind him and lost via split decision. And shout out to Rafael Sunsao. He actually trains down here at American Top Team. After those 2 losses back to back, he go in there and wins 2, and one of those wins was Renan Barão, which was a very solid fighter. He steps in there with Marlon Moraes, right? Marlon Moraes wasn't too much. Like Marlon Moraes, man, he's supposed to be the next best thing. He was a tough competition. a tough fighter. He was going to be solid competition for Aljamain Sterling. And if you watch the fight, man, it was going pretty decent, except you can see that Marlon Moraes' switch kick was something amazing. And you know, if you take too long and your eyes is not on your opponent, and you just leave that one slight window open, it's gonna get broken. And that's what Marlon did to Aljamain. Aljamain had he was in the process of getting off the canvas from a strike, and Marlon Moraes kicked on him, landed the left kick to the head, and froze him up stiff, just like goddamn Robert Helenius. Froze him up stiff, man. And this was all in round one now. This was all in round one of a 5-round fight. So after Marlon Moraes fight, y'all, this man went on something like a 9-fight win streak. I would say he went on like a 5 or 6. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He was on a 7-fight win streak until he stepped in there with TJ Dillashaw this weekend. Now, anybody who knows TJ Dillashaw, of course, he had his moments. You know what I'm saying? Both good and bad, right? He happened to be in the cage when Dominique Cruz returned after many months hiatus. And shout out to DC, man. I like DC. I like that little eccentric, awkward foot movement, style that he has. TJ Dillashaw was on the bad end of that. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately for TJ Dillashaw, he was at the top of his game at one point in time and winning the titles. When he fought Renan Barão and won, people was like very, very high on TJ being that dude. You know what I'm saying? Because he actually went in there and defeated Renan Barão, who they had a lot of hype behind. You know what I'm saying? He basically took the title from Renan Barão. Defended against Joe Soto. Went in there, defended again against Renan Barão. I say this all the time when it comes to mixed martial arts and boxing. They gave Renan Barão another chance to get his title back. They gave him another chance to step in there with TJ Dillashaw and get his title back. He did it. He stepped in there once again, and TJ, he defended his title successfully. But they allowed him the opportunity to grace the cage again. So then you have a crazy situation that happened. Dominique Cruz had been out the cage for quite some time. He was a former bantamweight world champion, considered to be one of the best. And the time he stepped in there with TJ Dillashaw, bro, his last freaking fight was Mizugaki back in 2014. Anybody who know Dominique Cruz, he's been plagued with knee injuries. And I'm talking about shit that just don't heal in 3 or 4 months. So in 2014, man, his last fight with Takeya Mizugaki, he was out with injuries. He came back in 2016 and fought a fresh TJ Dillashaw, a current reigning defending TJ Dillashaw, somebody who pretty much, in a lot of people's eyes, was going to destroy freaking Dominique Cruz because he's injury prone. And to our amazement, Dominique Cruz went in there and really had a solid game plan, man. It wasn't no keeping distance and none of that shit. Listen, when it was time for him to land kicks, he landed kicks. With that irky jerky foot movement, that style he got, he was able to land his punches. It's not like TJ didn't touch him up, but throughout the entire fight, it was clear that DC, had the momentum, and he was able to land the more effective strikes, with the kicks, punches, everything, right? So he takes TJ Dillashaw's belt, and TJ Dillashaw has to regroup. Real talk. He has to freaking regroup, man, because first of all, it was an embarrassment for somebody to be laid off damn near 2 years or whatever, to come back in there and take your belt. So he fights Rafael Sansao again, beats him, go in there with John Lineker. And then he had like a semi-rivalry with Cody Garbrandt. All right? He has a semi-rivalry with Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt was out of Team Alpha Male. Cody Garbrandt was the first fighter out of Team Alpha Male to win the motherfucking title. He even made Uriah Faber cry. Uriah Faber couldn't even win a championship in the UFC, bro. Now, when you want to talk about WEC, yeah, Uriah Faber was the motherfucking man. But when they came over and phased out, the UFC pretty much dissolved that WEC. Uriah Faber came over to the UFC and didn't have as much success as he did before. You know what I'm saying? So Cody Garbrandt had his opportunity to pick up the title, and he did. He won the title. So TJ Dillashaw went in there and defeated the Hype himself, a fighter out of a camp that TJ Dillashaw used to train in. Him and Dwayne Bang Ludwig. This is a crazy story. Ludwig used to be a trainer up in Team Alpha Male, and that was a inside like conspiracy that happened where Ludwig decided to branch off and do his own thing, a Team Elevation, I believe, or whatever. And he was recruiting, or he did recruit TJ Dillashaw to join him. And all along, if you watch The Ultimate Fighter with Conor McGregor and Uriah Faber, Conor McGregor was telling Uriah that TJ Dillashaw was a snake in the grass. But he didn't want to believe it because Uriah Faber had recruited TJ Dillashaw out of high school because he was this, phenomenal wrestler. But anyway, he goes in there and faced Cody Garbrandt, who's champion. Cody Garbrandt loses and gets knocked out in round 2. Cody Garbrandt, UFC, this is what I'm trying to explain to y'all. This is the Ultimate Fighting Championship. This is their routine. They allow Cody Garbrandt to get an immediate rematch. This man was stopped in round 2. So they say, hey, give you a rematch. That's why people keep on tuning in to MMA in general. TJ Dillashaw goes back in there with Cody Garbrandt again and stops him in round 1. He stops him. Like, that pretty much derailed Cody's Garbrandt. He hasn't had a good freaking winning streak since, especially when it comes to a championship. But anyway, this is where it gets interesting, y'all. For those of you that cover both sport like I do. TJ Dillashaw went in there against Henry Cejudo. This is the infamous story that'll go down in history. TJ Dillashaw had this momentum from going in there and reclaiming the bantamweight title from Cody Garbrandt. In that process, he reestablished his momentum in the bantamweight division and then ran into a situation. The situation was that the UFC was attempting to phase out the flyweight division. The flyweight division, that's a 125-pound division. The current reigning defending champion was Henry Cejudo. Yes, the only U.S. Olympic wrestler, gold medalist. Was it Mexican or American? I forgot what it was. But he was a gold medal wrestler, Olympian. Also, he was the current reigning defending champion at the flyweight division. He was the one who lost to Demetrius Johnson, and then took him damn near 2 years to come back, and he finally won the championship, okay? That was his first championship. TJ Dillashaw steps in there for what reason? You saying to yourself, well, TJ is a 135-pound champion, and Henry Cejudo is a 125-pound champion. Why are they fighting? They're in different weight classes. Why? Because of Conor fucking McGregor. Conor McGregor, at one point in time in his career, was able to become champ. He was a champ at 145 and 155. So at this point, Dana White was trying to phase out the flyweight division. It just wasn't interesting. Even though the GOAT, Demetrius Johnson, defended his title 11 times, surpassing Anderson Silva, Dana White wasn't too, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't too interested in the flyweight division. He just seemed like it was a wasted division. But this type of fight became very, very interesting. They offered Henry Cejudo to fight TJ Dillashaw. And he can move up to 135 if he wanted to, or something like that. But both titles was going to be on the line. All right? Both titles was going to be on the line. Cejudo's title and TJ Dillashaw's title. That was the strange part about it. That was the risk taker right there. Both of these guys' titles in two different divisions going to be on the line. From what the rumor mill was is that Henry Cejudo outpriced himself. He outpriced himself to move up to 35 to fight for the title. So what happened was they presented the offer to TJ Dillashaw. He said, guess what? You want to go down there and make a pretty good purse? We want to send you down there to fight Henry Cejudo. But primarily they wanted Henry Cejudo to lose that flyweight belt because they really wasn't fucking with the 125-pound division. TJ Dillashaw all gung-ho, juiced up and shit. He said, sure, I can make the weight. You sure? Because this is not boxing, son. Look, 125 and 135. Let's do the math. How many pounds is that in between? A dime, right? So this is not boxing. You know what I'm saying? This is not boxing because, look, 135 to 45, that's a lot of weight to lose. So they was asking, like, hey, you sure you can make the weight? Yeah, I can. TJ Dillashaw makes the weight, go down there and get knocked out. You heard me. Not only did he get knocked out, y'all, TJ Dillashaw gets knocked out in the first round. Henry Cejudo knocks out TJ Dillashaw with punches. A guy who's not really known to get busy with the hands like that. But when he fought Demetrius Johnson, he showed improvement, but he wasn't no motherfucking knockout artist like that. He knocks out TJ Dillashaw. Not only that, bro. I'm getting to my point about this co-main event. Not only that, he tested positive for EPO. He was suspended. Crazy, right? You lost your title, you was knocked out, and you tested positive for EPO. If that's not the three sins, right there in fighting and combat sports, I don't know what is. So he loses, he's out the sport. This happened in 2019, January. He doesn't come back to the sport to July 2021, y'all, last year. He wins a split decision over Corey Sandhagen. Didn't look good. Took a lot of punishment, right? He gets the win, though. Now, coming into 2022, damn near over a year off, right? He gets his shot at Aljamain Sterling. It's been some talk back and forth online. Aljamain Sterling is the new man on the block. He's he's established himself. He's defended his title. You know what I'm saying? He's talking his shit, and it's damn insults being thrown back and forth about him being dirty and shit like that. And then I think at the press conference, Aljamain said, don't be scared, open your mouth. Don't be scared, talk up. And then TJ said some shit like, I open, you can keep your mouth open. I put my nuts in them or something. He said something like that. It was hilarious. He said, your mouth is going to be open, my nuts going to be in them or something like that. It was funny. But they finally had the opportunity to meet one another. You know what I'm saying? Aljamain Sterling, when he won that title with Peter Young, it wasn't a traditional way to win the title via a disqualification, but he defended the title. You know what I'm saying? So that legitimizes that it wasn't a fluke. He beat the former champion. Now he's stepping in here with another former champion, TJ Dillashaw, coming off suspension. And he dominated. Not only that, we go back to what Don mentioned in the chat about dislocated shoulder. Yes, he dislocated his shoulder. He showed heart, grit, everything. He fought with an injury in camp. See, the one thing about being unjuiced is that it can prevent you from injuries to a point. It can help you sustain that high workout ability, the rigors of training without, getting those little small nagging injuries. For real. It lubricates the joints, so to speak. He suffered some type of injury in training camp and dislocated his shoulder in the fight, which was his left shoulder. He fought on brilliantly. He fought on as much as he possibly could, but you wasn't going to last against a fighter with the wrestling ability and ground game as Aljamain Sterling. And he ended up changing levels, getting a takedown, taking TJ Dillashaw's back and landing strikes. And when somebody lands strikes in the back position, especially if you belly down. If you belly down in that motherfucker and somebody's on your back landing strikes, it's tough. High level fighters can get out of that. But if your shoulder's fucked up and you don't have that base to try to get yourself out of that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. You may be able to defend a choke, which we seen TJ Dillashaw do. He defended the choke, but once Jermaine was on, that's heavy pressure, man. Once Jermaine was in that on the back control, had that back control the way he did, landing strikes, it's tough, bro. It's hard to get up out of that, bro. It's hard to get up out of that. And the fight was called in round 2. You know what I'm talking about? Let me go back over to the chat right quick. My fault. It's just, with mixed martial arts talk, man, sometimes it's just like you don't want to venture off into the chat too long because some people might start talking about boxing. Don said Leon had that head kick clutch move. Yes, sir. Miss said not as bad as AJ, but I was disappointed, especially after all the trash talk and the fact dude damn near decapitated him with a foul knee. Yeah, it was an illegal knee, which his corner was telling him to throw. He threw the knee by the direction of his corner, and he got disqualified. Stupid. Really, really stupid. Yeah, the Lomachenko effect. Real talk. Hanging out on the pound-for-pound list, no titles, and you have a loss. Yeah, man. The Lomachenko effect for sure. Don said Islam called out Volk. Yeah, Volk called out Islam too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whoever was going to win that fight between Charles and Islam, shit. Volk, he had already made his declaration. He said, my manifesto is moving up to 155. He's one of the best strikers. I'm talking about boxer strikers in the sport. Volkanovski can fucking fight, dog. So it's going to be very interesting. Him and Islam locking up. Oh, my goodness, dog. Jamal Neezy on deck. What's good? WCS salute, bro. What's up, chat? Get the likes up. No doubt. Appreciate you, Neezy, for pulling up. Appreciate you. So that's how it went down, man. It's an amazing story with TJ Dillashaw, former world champion, fighting Aljamain Sterling, who was able to defend his belt. But more so, he was able to get the belt off of disqualification. But that is all said and done because he came in here and defeated a former champion, a worthy opponent, and TJ Dillashaw, and he stops him. Main event. What a freaking main event that was. It was supposed to be a main event, but like a lot of things, right? The UFC has these twists and turns, man, that people just don't read so deep into like they do boxing. Like, look at what we've been speaking about with boxing. You know what I'm saying? All the damn suspenseful intrigue, like it's a Halloween story and shit. But look at mixed martial arts, though. They have these types of stories you barely hear about. Because, for one, Dana White don't really fuck with YouTube. Like, they have certain channels that speak MMA on the regularity, and those individuals actually they're able to go to the fights. You know what I'm saying? Someone was trying to get me to go to a fight, right? They know I spoke about MMA, and they was impressed, and they said, I want you to start going to the UFC fights with me. But see, they wanted me to go over to the UFC fights with them and not be able to post the content on my shit. They wanted me to go over there to be able to be an assistant to gather content, just like Fight Hype and all them doing. You know what I'm saying? But what they said was they wanted my assistant because I knew about MMA. So if I was going to do an interview with the fighters, I knew what I was talking about. But they was gonna post all the content on their channel, and I get a percentage or whatever. And I just felt like I say no, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. There's no knock on you, but I don't want to do it, bro. You know what I'm saying? And if you pay attention, that person is one of the people that you will hear asking questions. That's real talk, no cap. You know, he be asking questions at these pressers that the UFC has. He be asking questions. He said, man, you know it's hard to get up in there. Man, you don't have to do this forever. You can just get up in there and you know, do what you got to do. I say, nah, I'm good, bro. Because if I'm putting in that much time for a paycheck and none of the content I can post on my shit, I'm wasting my time, you know, going to the fight and getting the interview and getting the content if I can't distribute it. I mean, what is that? Anyway, let's talk about Charles Oliveira, bro. Let me share screen right quick. Let's talk about the man himself, Charles Oliveira, a.k.a. the Bronx. Jannard on deck. What's good? Salute WCS. When you talk about boxing again, I don't mean to interrupt your MMA live, but there's news about new information on Crawford new fight. So give me if I haven't already heard it, you know, we'll talk about that after I finish talking about this Charles Oliveira, you know, this Charles Oliveira fight with Islam. All right. Once I finish talking about this, I have no problem with chopping it up. You feel me? And I'm curious to know what you have to say. All right. So this is Charles Oliveira, 33 victories, 9 defeats. Now we're talking about boxing in a sense. You look at the green right here. This is when he got it together. It depends on what camp he was with, who he was training, how he was training. But you also see the red right here. He lost to Paul Felder, Ricardo Lamas, Anthony Pettis, former, you know, Showtime Pettis, you know what I'm saying? Max Holloway, former featherweight champion. You know what I'm saying? Frankie the Anchor, Answer Edgar, Cub Swanson. You know, Cub Swanson is one of my favorite fighters, man. He's never been world champion, but he's one of my favorite fighters. He just can't get it done. Another guy, Donald Cerrone, one of my favorite fighters. He just can't win the chip. So let's get into the wickets. You see some big names up here, right? So just ignore the grappling matches, because that's one thing Topology does, is put their grappling matches up here too. So let's look at Tony Ferguson. What the hell? Let's look at Tony Ferguson. Let's see. Why are they doing that? Oh, you know what they're doing that now? They want you, okay, this is an advertisement. They won't even let you click on the fight like that. Okay, I got you. So let's talk about his fight with Tony Ferguson. He won a unanimous decision, Charles Oliveira. Tony Ferguson is a tough fighter. You probably most notable recently. He did get stopped, okay? But he got stopped by Justin Gaethje too for a title eliminator to step in there against Khabib Nurmagomedov, in which Justin Gaethje, you know, he didn't make it too far, put it that way. But Charles Oliveira fought Tony Ferguson to a unanimous decision. And then Michael Chandler. You know, Michael Chandler gets one fight with Dan Hooker, and then he gets a title shot. If you don't know who Michael Chandler is, he was a champion that came over, former champion, came over from Bellator. Some of his training videos is some of the most beast mode training videos you'll see. You know what I'm saying? You say to yourself, somebody who trains to that level of intensity, they look like they can't be beat. But he goes in here, knocks out Dan Hooker to get the shot. And of course, check this out. Of course, if you pay attention, at the time, Khabib Nurmagomedov had vacated the belt. All right. Khabib had vacated the belt, and Charles Oliveira got his opportunity to fight for the vacated 155 lightweight title. So during that time, with Michael Chandler coming over here, he was able to fight Charles Oliveira for the vacant 155-pound belt. He ended up getting stopped in round 2, Michael Chandler. So Charles Oliveira picks up the vacant lightweight championship for the first time. The first chip he ever picked up in the UFC. I was happy as shit for Oliveira. I was happy than a motherfucker because I thought this guy right here, Kevin Lee, right? I thought he was going to be able to shut him down. But he ended up being choked out. You know what I'm saying? But back to the task at hand. Michael Chandler, second fight in the UFC, gets stopped. Left hook to the ground and pound. I said, what the hell? I thought Michael Chandler would put up a better fight than that. And then let's go back to Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, of all people who've had ample times to step in the square and win a championship, the Diamond, Dustin Diamond Poirier, he gets another shot at Charles Oliveira. All right? When he got his shot with Khabib Nurmagomedov, he was subbed out in round 3. RNC. All right? And look, it's not like he didn't have Khabib in a situation. He had Khabib in a tight guillotine choke. And Khabib, the man he is, he says, no way that I would tap. My father is here. There's no way I tap. So that was his saving grace. Like Dustin Poirier, a huge part of him felt that, hey, this is my time. I got it. Nope, he couldn't get it done. You know what I'm saying? If Dustin Poirier would have won that championship fight that night, oh my God, the arena would have went crazy. You just shut down Khabib Nurmagomedov, bro. You just shut him down. Boom. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't get it done. So Khabib would go on later to sub out Justin Gaethje and then retire. And then, spinning you up to speed, Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira fought for the vacant. Charles Oliveira won, and then he steps in there with Dustin Poirier. I say, okay, with all the experience Dustin has, guess what? He can get this shit done. He can get it done. He goes in there and lose, goddamn it. Rear naked choke again, round 3. I said, God damn it. I was pulling for Dustin too. He gets subbed out in round 3. Moving on, God damn it. He goes in there and fights Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje gets his opportunity once again. This is what I love about the UFC, y'all. This is what I love about them now. This boxing shit, you think I just be tuned in, full focus on boxing all the time? No, the way I stay sane, I switch over here to shit that's actually happened. It's happening. I switch over here to shit that's actually happening. I can talk about shit that's actually taking place. Oliveira defeats Dustin Poirier and go in there against Justin Gaethje. The same Justin Gaethje who's provided the opportunity, right? He came over from the WSOF, World Series of Fighting. He had I'm talking about 2 big names. He fought Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gaethje. He had 2 motherfucking big, not Justin Gaethje. He fought Dustin Poirier. 2 heavy names. He gets his opportunity to come back and get a championship shot. He failed at Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now he has Charles Oliveira. And he gets stops in the first round. Rear naked choke. Now, did I tell you that Charles Oliveira is an octopus now? He motherfucking get one of your motherfucking limbs. Shit is not going to go the way you think. Like, look, he had Tony Ferguson in the motherfucking armbar. And it looked like that dude's joints was all fucked up and shredded. Tony did not tap. Anyway, Justin Gaethje goes in there for another title shot. Once again, not blackballing the fighter, not shelving the fighter, not saying, no, we gave you a shot at Khabib, you didn't get it done. No, they allowed them to work themselves back up into contention and put him in there for a championship. He loses. So now, Not only that, y'all, but check this out right here. What does that say? When he went in there for Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, it was for the vacant lightweight championship. So you heard me say he was the champion, right? But at this point in time, he missed weight. He missed weight. So the belt was up for grabs for Justin Gaethje to win if he won the fight. Justin Gaethje could have did it. He couldn't get it done. He gets choked out in round one. What they say, okay, they don't blackball Charles Oliveira for losing weight. For missing weight. They don't blackball him. They don't send them all out here and excoriate them in the media. They don't say, oh, no, we gave you the opportunity, but you didn't take advantage. No, they don't do none of that. They provide the man the opportunity to fight for what? Let's go up here again. The vacant lightweight championship. Now, y'all need to really pay attention to WCS and take your mind off boxing sometime. You know what I'm saying? It can be a relief. Look at this shit right here. Who does this? They allowed this man to fight for the UFC vacant lightweight championship when he missed weight for this fight. He won. Look, this was early this year. Bring him back in there. Bring him back in there to fight for the vacant lightweight championship against Islam. Tough opponent. He hasn't had no championship fight. They go in there and give him Islam. Makhachev. Khabib Nurmagomedov's boy. In the same camp. Islam is a problem. People say, hey, Islam is a fucking problem. He a problem. He a motherfucking problem. He goes in there and subs out Oliveira. Now look, peep this. He subs out a BJJ practitioner, a dude who I say is an octopus, a dude is known for subs. Man, he chokes him out with an arm triangle in round 2. Not round 3, 4, 5. He subs this guy, Islam. Islam subs this guy, freaking Charles Oliveira, out in round 2. Crazy, dog. Crazy. And becomes the lightweight world champion, making his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the proudest motherfucking coach in the building. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Khabib was like, oh my God, I lost my dad, man. I'm retired. You know, I'm trying to bring some other champions into the game from my camp. And wouldn't you know it, bro? We're talking about from heavyweight to lightweight. We're talking about middleweight is freaking Adesanya. Welterweight is Leon Edwards. Come on, man. Volkanovski is not on the team. So Islam is set to potentially face Alexander Volkanovski, who is the 145-pound champion. He's not from Khabib's team. Aljamain Sterling is not from Khabib's team. Nor is Brandon Figueiredo at 125. So for him to retire and to have a stablemate pick up the championship in this amount of time is just amazing. Shout out to Team Khabib Nurmagomedov, man. That camp he's in. Shout out to him. And also he has his own organization, Eagle FC. You know what I'm saying? Man, shout out to him, bro. That was 2 championship fights that was short, but they was live, man. Why? Because we had champion versus champion, really. You know what I'm saying? And then in the main event, the story played out where you had a former champion who lost it on the scales and a contender for the championship. Though they fought for the vacant, it was almost like it was equally matched as if they was champion. Like, it had a lot of hype behind both of these fighters. But Charles Oliveira, he won the championship, defended it, and guess what? He couldn't get it back. But it is an article out there that's saying that Charles Oliveira is saying he's going to regain his title. I don't know if he's had injuries in camp. I don't know. He had his hiccups early in his career, but shout out to the UFC for doing it the way it's supposed to be doing. Shout out to them for not having so much toilet paper wrapped up, man, and just prevent people to see what they want to see. Like, it's always some other shit behind it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like you walk in the community bathroom and it's toilet paper, wet toilet paper on the floor, is dirty. I mean, sometimes boxing give you that visual, real talk. It does. But yet when it comes to mixed martial arts, it's much more cleaner with the future fights. When the projection will best fighting the best, you get to see all that in clarity, bro. You know the fights is gonna happen. But shout out to UFC. I love the multi-striking discipline that they have. You know what I'm saying? The system is amazing. The system is fucking amazing. I mean, it is something to get used to. You won't hear a lot of guys be able to break down what they're watching because they don't want to. They want to kind of compare it to boxing. Oh, he hits him here, he hits him there. Oh, what a left kick, what a right kick. What's this, what's that? It's not boxing, people. It's not. Mixed martial arts is not boxing. Even the way they train boxing is quite different, because even though they might have a boxing coach, they definitely have to throw their punches a bit different than if they were in the ring. I.e., example, Carissa Shields in her second fight in mixed martial arts. She overly committed, and by that time, her opponent was deeper in on the hips and was able to get the takedown. You need to throw, if you're a boxer, you cannot overly commit on a mixed martial artist knowing that the takedowns is there. The ability to go in. The boxing don't have ability. That's illegal. But in mixed martial arts, you are allowed to close distance for a single, double, whatever. You can suplex a fighter on the head. I mean, whatever. If you look at the Kevin Randleman and Fedor Emelianenko, that is one of the most crucial, devastating suplexes that you will ever see in mixed martial arts. I mean, I'm surprised that Fedor's neck didn't snap in half. You got a beast like Kevin Randleman, rest in peace. He suplexed Fedor on his neck. Left the ground with Fedor in the air. He's in the air and suplexed that man. One of the most brutal freaking suplexes you'll ever see. But shout out to Islam, man. I like Islam. He's a problem, bro. So I'm curious to know who's going to be next in line. You know what I'm saying? If it's Alexander Volkanovski, cool. I see that fight as being a very, very competitive fight. Real talk. If they're going to give him right off the back, this is what I like about the UFC also and Bellator. If they're going to give Volkanovski the shot right off the back, that further shows you that this guy just won a title and they're going to give him a hard-ass freaking opponent right off the rip. It ain't no who has he fought. Oh, we don't know him. Oh, man, they bums. They this. No, you're not saying that in mixed martial arts, man. Because these fighters fight in such a quick, recycled rotation or whatever. You can't just say, oh, man, they ain't nobody. They ain't no, because you're not staying close to the sport. This is a hard-ass sport. This system is difficult. Its fighters take losses all the time. They don't have the 16-week training camps all the time. Some of these fighters fight on a quick turnaround. So however y'all want to do it, I would suggest y'all take a little relief sometime or another from boxing, the soap opera of combat sports. Boxing is a fucking soap opera of combat sports, right? I'm not saying the sport itself. I'm saying boxing, as far as how it's reported on, is one of the soap operas of combat. You're not going to get that in mixed martial arts. Totally different community. It's none of this I never lose to a white boy type of shit going on over here at mixed martial arts. You have black champions, man. You have Russian champions. You have European champions. You have champions everywhere. African champions. So you can't bring the racism over there, because you got the Israel Adesanyas, you got the freaking Francis Ngannou, and then one time you had the damn Kamaru Usman. And then at flyweight, you used to have Demetrius Johnson. Middleweight, you had Anderson Silva from Brazil. It's just too much to unpack for people not to understand how mixed martial arts works when it comes to the community and how boxing community works. You would think they're two different universes, bro. John Jones of all people, with all his drug, his legal problems with testing positive and shit, they strip him, allow him to come back and fight for a title right off the rip. Who does that? Will boxing do that? Boxing won't do that shit. Boxing won't do that shit. Let me get to this chat. So Jannard, put in there what you talk about because I haven't seen it yet. Let me stop sharing. So Toby said they said Islam spent over $1 million on this camp for this fight. So if that man spent over $1 million, that must have been an IOU ticket for real, because he really wasn't making that type of money leading up to now. So if he spent $1 million on this camp, I'm curious to see how he funded it, but I'm not even sweating it. You know, if they say he did, okay. Eddie Hearns pays a lot of attention on how the UFC run things. They should. He should pay attention. He should. And you see how Eddie Hearns is having fights over there where the money is at. Eddie Hearn is going where the money is at, because it's getting quite difficult to depend on independent investors over here in the U.S. to make these fights happen when the promotions are jacking off and not doing what they're supposed to do. They going over there with the liquid money. They're going over there with the people who's not going to miss it. They're not struggling for pennies. Fallback was good. Great show as always. I'm always looking on. Just very busy. Tell the people the money that Khabib spent on his team out of his own pocket for this event. Love your show. Be watching while working. Appreciate it, bro. Yeah, man, I got mad respect for Khabib. You know what I'm saying? He's did a lot. First of all, he respected his mother's wishes by not returning to the cage. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, when a man as talented as Khabib has an issue with what his father is going to do to him when he get back, we're talking about when he subbed out Conor McGregor, threw his mouthpiece, jumped over the fence, and went flying. He jumped into the area where Khabib and said, where Conor McGregor team was at, and said, let's go. You can tell all that tension was built up, bro. But appreciate your fallback. Pop on deck. What's good? MMA is a beautiful sports system, all that shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? Khabib paid for the camp. Okay. Appreciate the information. Yeah, appreciate that. He paid for the camp. They're a different type of group, man. Jannard, what were you talking about? New information on the Crawford situation. What's new? Enlighten me, man. I'm listening. Look. If you have some information I don't have, or I haven't had the opportunity to research yet, let me know. Khabib, total respect, no doubt, man. And shout out to Islam too, man. You know, man, they doing shit different over there, you know, in that camp, man. You ain't playing around. It ain't no motherfucking, it's different. It's different. I'm serious. It's different. You have to go in here in these gyms and watch how these individuals train, how they place in bad positions. You know, just say they got to work themselves off bottom position. They have to work off bottom. They have to learn what to do. How are you gonna improve your position? How are you gonna improve your position if you're on the bottom? You know what I'm saying? If your opponent has side control, how are you gonna improve that? You know what I'm saying? They put you in the worst positions possible, and then they put you up against the wall in the worst position to work off the cage. Then they put you in top position. Okay, how are you gonna work for top position? Because anybody knows position before submission. Position before submission. So you got to work position. You're just not up there holding them down like you're a wrestler. You got to work. You know what I'm saying? You have to work for the position that you want. And then once you get the position, guess what? What type of submission are you going for? Or are you going to just try to apply punches from the top position, elbows, because you know you have those extra 4 limbs. You have the left and right elbow, you know, and you can use your knees. You can use your knees when your opponent is on their back, as long as it's not the head. You can knee them in the rib cage, the thighs, all that shit. It's totally legal, but you cannot knee them in the head like it used to be over in Japan. You know what I'm saying? In the Pride glory days. So you might already know, but the revised version of Spence vs. Crawford that ESPN spoke about was set for 2023. That's why Crawford took a fight to finish out 2022. Unfortunately, Jannard, I've heard that already. But what I want to tell you is I appreciate you pulling up and dropping that. I've heard that already. What I try to do is break up the monotony a little bit, because I didn't want to continue to jump on here talking about Spence Crawford back to back, because it can become repetitive. But yes, I did read that, and but I had to get to the UFC 280. I wanted to talk about that fight card because there was a lot of history in that fight card. I like it. You know what I'm saying? UFC is not UFC boxing, okay? It's boxing versus MMA. 2 different combat sports, 2 different systems on how they run things. You know, even the politics of boxing is different than mixed martial arts. You can't say, you know, only certain person getting a shot. If you look at the 17 divisions in boxing and you look at the champions, I mean, it's just too much to figure out why so-and-so is here, why this has happened, why that has happened. You don't have no Canelo Alvarez running around mixed martial arts, going from division to division, doing what the fuck he want. The closest that anybody's gotten was Conor McGregor, featherweight, lightweight, DC 205 heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Amanda Nunes 135 45. You know, it's been people who became champ. It has. But you ain't just running through no divisions and shit. And plus, like I told you before, 125 to 35, 35 to 45, 45 to 55. You get it? And then it gets a little funny. 55 to motherfucking 70. That's where it shuts the fuck down. 155 to 170. You want to play around in here and talk about, oh man, I'm going to jump from super welterweight. I'm going to jump to the next division. I'm going to go out there and fight Rocky Fielding. I'm going to go fight Demetrius Andrade at 160. No, you go from 155 super welterweight and you got to take your ass all the way up the damn light heavyweight damn near. They ain't playing those games. That's the bridge, dog. That's the broken bridge right there. 155 to 170. Now you can go to 25, 35, 45, 55. Skip over to 70. It gets even more interesting. 70 to 85. 85 to 205. Yeah, you can't fuck around over here in mixed martial arts playing those games. We be watching on Keep Up the Grind, WCS, total respect. Salute to you, brother. Yeah, I need to, you know, kind of talk about mixed martial arts a little bit more often, but it just be so much drama going on with boxing that it's just easy to come on here and talk about this shit because it just keep on ramping up. But ask these cats to talk about mixed martial arts, they don't find it entertaining. It does, man. The 8 limbs of combat, man. Mixed martial arts is amazing. It's a beautiful system. It's a lot more that you have to do to be successful in mixed martial arts. So what else somebody else heard about this, you know, situation? If it's really nothing else, let me see if I have anything else out here. Speaking of boxing, right? I did want to speak on the Jerron Ennis situation with Bozy Ennis, his father. Okay, Boxing News 24 released the article, right? And they said Jerron Boots Ennis requests IBF to order Errol Spence fight. I like it. I like it. It says mandatory challenger Ron Boots Ennis has submitted a request to the IBF for them to order Errol Spence Jr. to defend his IBF welterweight title against him. I like it. Why? Because something needs to be done. They need to get some visibility on what their manifesto should be moving forward. Obviously, just like the Teofimo Lopez situation, his mandatory was set, therefore within. The IBF was the only person he had to deal with. Now, him being the champion, the undisputed champion at the time, he could have chose to fight Devin Haney, or he could have chose to fight George Cambozo. He chose Cambozo. You know what I'm saying? He chose Cambozo. So it went the way it went. With this particular fight right here, Errol Spence has an option. He has the WBA route or the IBF route. Also, you have to look at the individuals that's holding these titles. I mean, not the individuals who holding them, the individuals who set to contend for these titles. Who's more of a tougher competition? Is it going to be Stantionis or Boots? Man, you go to the consensus, people are going to always lean to the right. They're going to say Boots is the more heavier detriment when it comes to Spence defending his title. He's much more of a threat. Real talk. Now, I'm not saying Stantionis is not. But right now, Boots being who he is, a switch hitter, big for the division. They talk about how big Errol is. I'm telling you, it's not going to be an easy fight for Boots. But per Errol Spence, then guess what? He's going to take the easy route just like he did with the Sean Porter. He told y'all what his mindset was. He told you what him and Al's mindset was, to take the easy route. That easy route just didn't stop when he was going the Sean Porter route, and then he linked up with Yordenis Ugas. Now it comes time for him to face a mandatory. He's going to take another easy route and go to Stantionis. Okay? All the Spencerholics out there? He's taking the easy route again. I bet you won't mention that, huh? It's nothing else you have to say about this shit. Jannard just put in there about, Crawford went the other way because the revision was for the fight to happen in 2023. And y'all sitting up here being as incompetent as possible, acting like Crawford's giving a black eye to boxing and he's making boxing look bad and all. How do you feel now? How do you feel now? So Crawford was saying he was going to fight at the end of the year, right? So the man's not supposed to make a living? He wasn't going to fight this year when it came to Errol Spence. So what was he supposed to do? Sit there and be stupid with a dunce cap on and not make this check? Let's make the check. I hope the fight stays, because it's a lot of freaking questions right now with this BLK shit. It's a lot of questions. I ain't gonna lie. It's a lot of questions, people. So it goes on to say, if the IBF acts on the request from number one IBF Boots Ennis, 29 victories and 0 defeats, 27 knockouts, Spence may be forced to decide. Now, this is what I said earlier about Spence potentially having to make a choice. It won't be a hard choice for him because he loves taking the easy route. Spence may be forced to decide whether to agree to the fight or vacate his belt and either move up to 154 or defend his WBA title against Stantionis. The easier fight, okay, this is the article, on paper for Spence, who's 28 victories, 0 defeats, and 22 knockouts, is against Stantionis. No shit. No shit. This is where it gets cloudy and where people are losing focus and doing their research. Because we're in a system, right? YouTube, we're in a system where individuals want to continue to put shit, content and information on the conveyor belt. You know what I'm saying? We're able to do that. We're free to do that. But some of this shit is just so immediate and impulsive that the casual person that's reading this shit don't know where to start or don't know where to end. Because you have so many people out here trying to bash Crawford, but yet they saying the revisions it was in 2023. So he's supposed to wait through the holidays and not make a check. It's stupid. And y'all stupid for sitting there and believing that, oh, it's time to bash Crawford. And look, all y'all channels trying to subliminally come at me or whoever about this Crawford shit. That's one fighter in boxing who I support. That's one. You're not going to get reactions out of me just because you're going at Crawford. That's not it. You're not going to get that out of me. You know what I'm saying? I'll speak on it if I see it out there. But some of y'all are being kind of obvious. Like, y'all kind of taking shots at certain language and shit that's being used by a channel and believing that if you go at Crawford, I'm going to start sending arrows your way. No, it doesn't work that way. But let's get back to the article. They say up until this week, IBF, WBA, and WBC 147-pound champ Spence has been in negotiation with who? WBO champ Terrence Crawford for Undisputed Championship. He goes on to say, little did Spence know. Okay, here we go. Crawford was in negotiation with French contender David Avanesian at the time. This week, Crawford team announced that he'll be defending against Avanesian on December 10th on BLK pay-per-view at the Shaw Health Center in Omaha, Nebraska. All right? They go on to say Crawford will be getting an unbelievable 8-figure payday for the fight against Avanesian. Now that Crawford is out of the picture, Spence must decide whether to face Stantionis, Boots Ennis, Keith Thurman, or move up to 154. That's a lot of choices that he have to make. You know what I'm saying? But it's still an easy route in there now. Echo Romeo. It's still the Echo Romeo there, right? It says Spence never did no mandatories. Now, this is coming from the Boots camp. I like it. I like it. Shout out to YSM Sports Media. Spence's never did no mandatory, said Boots' dad. Trainer Derek Bosey Ennis to YSM Sports Media. 4 years since Spence made a mandatory defense. I hope y'all don't get too mad at Bosey. I hope y'all don't get too mad at him for speaking the truth. Y'all Spencerholic fangirls always up here talking about what that man has done, but you choose to ignore what he hasn't done. You just sit up here and try to put all this accolades and goddamn keep putting medals on his motherfucking badge and shit on his chest. You good now, champ. You good. Let me goddamn rub your back a little bit. Let me fan you down with the palm leaves. Let me put some olive oil on your feet. They said Spence never did no mandatory, said Boots' dad, trainer Derek Bosey Ennis. Why you haven't did no mandatory, bro? What's been going on with you? He said you would expect it, but I know what's going on is going to be. Now you're going to go by. Why do I got to fight Jerron Ennis, or why do I got to fight someone in the top 5 when you got Terrence Crawford going and fighting someone in the top 10? Said Coach Lawrence Smalls. That's not it. Let me see. Someone that's not in the top 10. And I talked about Coach Lawrence. I spoke on him about why he feel the way he does, but he made it to a freaking Boxing News 24 article. You know what I'm saying? It said exactly, said Bosey Ennis. You got Stantionis, you got Thurman, you got Boots, you got Ortiz. We got 4 fights right there waiting for in line for a title shot against Spence. He ain't getting paid that. It's not really concrete now. They're just saying that shit. My man told me that he don't think that's going to take place. The first pay-per-view fight in Nebraska. Oh, you don't say. So you trying to tell me that it may be some issues, the same issues that I've been speaking about to you all? About BOK? Is that not what they just reiterated? Look, listen what they said. My man told me that he don't think that's going to take place. Let me go over here to the chat, man. Let me go over here to the chat. John Heron said on his War a Week podcast a couple of weeks ago, now said he heard through his industry sources Spence versus Crawford was going to be on February 4th. That's going to be a quick turnaround for Crawford if he's going to fight. If that's indeed the case, right? It's a lot of shit that I can say right now, but I don't want to ruin the moment, and I especially don't want to try to strain any relationships with people. I don't want to do it. You know, it's a lot of shit that I've spoken to people who know the situation and was telling me similar shit. But for Crawford to fight Avanesian December 10th, that's such a short period of time to go through the whole month of January and then fight February 4th for the undisputed titles. That's a quick turnaround. I'm not saying Crawford can't do it, but anybody and everybody who's looking at that turnaround point, that short window, oh man, it's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough, man. That's gonna be tough. But good shit. Good shit. He said, now you're talking WCS, Boots and Spence. Why they not calling for that fight? That's a good question as to why they're not calling for Boots to fight Errol. Because originally when Boots made his way up the rankings, you know who they was trying to put Boots on? Crawford. This is when Crawford had just defeated and stopped Sean Porter. And then they was waiting for Spence to jump in the ring. In the meanwhile, they come up here pushing these damn trash-ass sanitation, goddamn septic tank narratives. They're saying, oh, Crawford ain't doing anything. Why don't he fight Boots? Why he don't fight Boots? Why he don't fight Boots? He just got out the ring in November. And they're waiting on Spence to get in the ring in April. And they talking about Crawford ain't doing nothing. Why he don't fight Boots? The man just stopped Sean Porter, sent him in retirement. So right now, here we go again. You have heard nothing about Boots fighting Errol Spence on the consistency. He's the mandatory. Ain't nobody talking shit about that. Because their mind is focused on Spence stepping in there for his annihilation. They want him to step in there and face Terrence Crawford. Now that this fight has stalled, so to speak, and all the bashing began once again, because they don't like the dark-skinned fighter. Now they hear the shit for the revision being next year in 2023. What are they going to say? Oh, it's still a duck. How's it a duck if the man can get paid on the end of the year? Anybody can prolong a fight, delay a fight. If the revisions are for February 4th, like they saying, supposedly, man, come on, man. It ain't no venue locked in for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's going to be on Vegas, where's it going to be at? Now that everything has changed and all the revisions are being made and everything is good. So if the fighters are square on that, they square on the money, then it shouldn't be hard for them to say, you know what? For the top of the calendar year in 23, we want to have the fight over here. But we want to see, can we have it in March, April, whatever the case may be. It's not like fights haven't been delayed before. Canelo Alvarez, Caleb Plant. It's not like we haven't had a big fight on the docket and that shit got delayed after Caleb came on record and saying, I agreed to everything they wanted. I agreed to everything they wanted. I don't know why the fight was pushed back. Man, come on, stop it. Y'all up here trying to dog Crawford out again for some small shit. He going to say, that's what it's going to be. Continue, Coach L. Terrence Crawford, 35 years old. How much longer are you going to play around? What kind of legacy are you keeping? They need to strip you from the pound for pound and fight the way it was supposed to fight. Yeah, I pretty much touched on this. I totally disagree with you, Coach L. Because for one, you saying they should strip him and do all this other stuff, but yeah, you need to learn you need to talk about some other fighters that was in that position that should have been stripped too. You know what I'm saying? If you talk about negotiations, being that you close to boxing, you in the gym, you should truly understand that this is no different. They should take him from the rankings without him losing? Seriously, without him losing, Terrence Crawford has one fucking belt. And you want him to be removed from the rankings all because of what again? He fighting David Avanesian for what again? Were you saying that when Canelo moved up and fought Rocky Fielding? Oh, man, he's just up there picking on the guys, man. That's a WBA regular title, man. Now, what is he doing? He should remove from the freaking pound-for-pound list, man. Come on, bro. Were you saying that? Listen, were you saying that when Errol Spence fought Carlos Ocampo and they brought that man from the bottom depths of darkness, no one knew who the fuck he was? Did you say, oh, man, but he's a mandatory, though? Where the fuck did they get the mandatory then? What dumpster? So you got Stantionis, you got Boots, you got Ortiz. What's the use of these guys going back and forth with each other when the guys that got the belts, Crawford and Spence, they're ducking and dodging, said Coach L. Ducking and dodging what? Business have to be right. Business have to be right, Coach. You know that. Business have to be right, brother. That's all I'm saying. Business have to be right, and you know it. Steven Nelson from Team Crawford said Spence might move up to duck Crawford and Ennis. Stephen Nelson, boxer friend and director of Crawford's B&B Boxing Academy, spoke in an interview with Golden Era Boxing about how Errol Spence did not want to take the fight with Terrence Crawford. In the interview, Nelson confirmed a few media reports to be true and assured Spence and Al Heyman didn't want the fight by lowballing Crawford. Crawford wanted at least 40%, but accepted, just like I said, just like I put in the thumbnail. What did I say in the thumbnail? Y'all don't listen. Y'all don't want to listen. Y'all don't want to listen. I gave you before anybody spoke about that shit. You know, I just didn't read it out A, B, C, D. But I remind you, go back in my lives and do your timeline of when I put this out. Do your timeline. When I put this thumbnail out, how far it was ahead of the 65-35 shit. This proves it. Crawford wanted at least 40%. What does this say? 60-40. They was up there talking about, well, Crawford should just take what they giving them and everything. They should just take what they giving them. I said they wasn't giving them 40. Yeah, he should just take the 40%. They wasn't trying to give him 40 while y'all up here talking about 55-45. They were trying to give that man 70-30. Crawford wanted at least 40%, but accepted Spence low 35% offer because he wanted to fight. But Spence wouldn't even guarantee that percentage. Nelson said, it almost seems like they didn't want the fight because they knew Crawford wouldn't take the offer. They have them making some bullshit ass offers in a sport that they want to consider the hurt business. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but man, y'all already know what it is with that. Unique on deck. What's good? You know, I say WCS pay for play. That's a lot of step aside money. I guess Boots not hearing it. Some people don't mind getting paid to sit on their rump and not maximize on a bigger payout. The only thing about Boots taking step aside money is that he hasn't been offered step aside money. I believe Stantionis has been offered step aside money. He himself wants to get a shot. You know what I'm saying? So of course, Boots being the tougher mandatories of the names that was mentioned, he did what he's supposed to, submit the paperwork. Because some of the shit you think should be automatic in boxing, it's not. You have to ask yourself and scratch your head like, damn, they don't know I'm over here? When am I getting my shot? Like, what the fuck? and then you got to submit the paperwork. You submit the paperwork, I'll take you back to Sergey Deryanchenko and Gennady Golovkin. You got to submit the paperwork, man. They say, no, we're not playing these games. If I'm the freaking IBF mandatory, recognize me. Don't sit up here and keep acting like I'm absent and I'm not around. No. Sergey Deryanchenko team submitted the paperwork and they got the shot. They didn't win the shot, but they got it. Showtime say they don't want EJ to fight nobody. Shaking my head. The Wakandas are exposed. They don't, man. And you have these cats on here and they feel like they just want to bash Crawford and act like boxing haven't been self-inflicted for quite some time. You know, boxing has been self-inflicted for a long time. The way and the process and the format for which they do business over here, it's everywhere, bro. The people that go to the fights, the people that's with the teams as a part of the business aspect, they know how grimy this sport is. And I'm going to tell you a little gem too. These same people who get on here and, you know, and talk about how Crawford don't supposed to do this and Crawford don't supposed to do that. A lot of them people haven't even really dealt and been to more than 2 fights in their whole life. They're online, not front line. They're online, not the front line. They're not dealing with behind the scenes and know what the business layout is and how you know, what questions are being asked and what answers they should have. They're sitting up here just talking and listening to everybody else and then come on and make up a video and say, you know what, I'm convinced it's Crawford's fault. No, let's not forget that boxing is a raggedy magic show. You know what I'm saying? It's full of suspense and climax, lies, deceptions, all that shit, bro. So for you all to think there's one fighter all of a sudden, one fucking fighter is doing anything to boxing that haven't been done to boxing before, get the fuck out of here, dog. Y'all acting like you the true, legitimate platinum casual fan. You cannot be that naive, man. How can you be this naive? A fight that the YTC has been drowning in criticism for years. And you get your hopes up high that this fight is finally going to play out. This man leaves Top Rank showing you what the fuck he's trying to do. He's independent now, just like Canelo was when he got out of the $360 million deal, 11 fight. He got up out the deal and continued to make moves and get paid. Crawford gets up from on the Top Rank and attempts to go over here and take less money now. Y'all still ain't satisfied? Because you all was the same one on here bitching and complaining, talking about he should just learn how to be challenger. He should just learn how to humble himself. Just take less money. Learn how to be quiet. Sit there. Yeah, just like a little slave too. So you want that man just to sit there all nice on the mercy of the PBC and get railroaded? Is that the fuck with y'all niggas talking? You expect this grown ass man on the back end of his career to get railroaded? You want that man to get railroaded. Instead of see him negotiate a proper deal that's fair, you want to see this man get railroaded. So the amount of years we've been on here talking about this fight and all the criticism that y'all gave as if Spence was doing everything right. Now all of a sudden, you hear an alternative and you want to say, oh, it's not good for boxing. Man, y'all sound stupid. Sometimes fools that talk amongst each other, they can't separate the bullshit from the truth. Because all the fools get together and start talking foolish type shit. And before you know it, they get drowned in, they get intoxicated off the foolishness, bro. You want this man to go in here and not negotiate what's fair for him and just fall at the mercy of a black man and another black man he's trying to step in the ring with. You just want him to be able to take advantage of the black man, huh? That's what we doing? You want a black fighter that you said that was top-ranked Toby, y'all. You have to be held accountable for your words and your slang and your criticism. Top-ranked Toby. That's what y'all call the man. Y'all call Crawford top-ranked Toby. So you want top-ranked Toby to go over the PBC and become Kunta? Help me. Top-ranked Toby. Do you want him to now turn into Kunta over at PBC? Because the master is different. Here, y'all tell it, the master is different over there, right? So y'all got all happy. You know, y'all was rooting and cheering for Spence, who told you he wanted to take an easy route, but y'all ignored it. And now come to find out, yeah, he want to take the easy route with Stanthionis too. Not only that, being that we're not privy to the negotiation process, if the information is indeed true about next year, what y'all have to say exactly? How are you going to measure your stupidity now? If you didn't take enough patience to understand that negotiations is what it is, and this man has been trying to give them and give, because y'all said Spencer's doing all the heavy lifting, right? So if Crawford's been there compromising, shout out to Coach Malachi on deck, man. New media today, USA Boxing. Salute to you. He said, peace to the chat. Shout out to my brother WCS. Please hit the like button, fam. Appreciate it. Shout out to one of the hottest in the game right now, man. Appreciate you pulling up, Coach. Salute to new media today. Boxing Coach got a hot show. True. Yes, sir. True. Hey, I have to, you know, I'm up here trying to address. You know, I'm only trying to use Coach phrase, but it's a lot of Wakandans out here for real, man. For real, it's a lot of Wakandans, man. Now I know what he's talking about. Shit, I call them BBC. You know what I'm saying? That's my phrase for these niggas. The bomb boxing community, for real. If they did not have a double standard, they would not have a standard at all. Damn. Because you look at it that way, right? A lot of what we speak about in conflict on this YouTube shit is double standards. Even I may complain or be real critical about a fighter, and I may show some bias in that. But majority of what I'm saying is not what I call extreme bias. You know what I'm saying? The percentage is not high enough to be that lopsided where I'm just saying, I don't care what y'all say. Crawford is good. No, I feel that his decision to abort the mission, if the fight indeed was revised to 2023, and then also, I want to know, like I said before, when was those revisions sent to Crawford? The final revisions. When did he return them? And how long did PBC sit on these revisions to all of a sudden send them back to Team Crawford and say he's taking too long? I need to know that timeline. And also I want to know a little bit about this detail too. If indeed some revisions were sent back and the fight is for 2023, I would like to know if it's any other language that was revised in that. If both the fighters had already cleared everything, agreed upon everything, but yet when PBC sent those final revisions back, the same revisions they saying they haven't heard no response back from Team Crawford, and all it was is that, you know what, everything is taken care of. We just gonna have the fight in 2023. I would like to know that. Now, this is the second half I would like to know. I would like to know at what point in time, with all this BLK communication, when did it start? I'm not talking about if BLK reached out to Crawford, you know, a little bit ways after Spence beating Ugas or whatever the case may be. I'm speaking about when did the negotiation starts, or when did the communication begin, when they saying Crawford reached back out to BLK to potentially set up this fight. How many months out was that? When did he reach back out to say, you know what, I'll take that fight for whatever money is being talked about? You know what I'm saying? We heard it was 8 figures, but we don't know what the 8 figures is. See how gullible the freaking what's the word I'm looking for? The simulation is that we hear 8 figures, and what we do, we take the first numeric value that's 8 figures. 10 million. Boom, we run with it. Now everybody's running with 10 million. But I would like to know, when did you say, whoever's saying that Crawford reached back out to BLK for this fight, and that process started? Because it'll kind of give us a little clearer picture as to when he initially reached back out and how long we've been waiting for these negotiations with Errol and freaking Bud to finish. Have they already been finished? Because I don't believe this, when the news was announced, they signed 30 to 45 minutes after that. Get the fuck out of life, bro. All of a sudden, the fight is announced, it's off, and then, let's get the pins ready. You're trying to tell me from a blindsided, right? A blindsided observation that us from the outside looking in, we're blinded. You're trying to tell me that since the information was announced, they signed. Who would have known if they signed anyway? The shit is not done in the streets of New York like Eddie Hearns tried to say was going on with Anthony Joshua's contract for Wilder. We're not doing no bogus theatrical shit like that. If we can't see the signing, why in the fuck are they signing the contract 30 to 45 minutes after it was announced, if it's a blind side anyway from the outside looking in? We're not at the negotiation table. We're not in Omaha, Nebraska. We're not in DeSoto. So somebody please explain to me. Can I get some of that though? How in the fuck does that make sense? They signed 30 to 45 minutes after it was announced. Don't make a sense to goddamn Stevie Wonder, goddamn it. If we can't see the shit, why in the fuck are we caring about what time they signed? They could have came out with the goddamn flyer, with the box rec scheduling, and that would have been all we need to know. But somebody to come on YouTube like Blue and sit up here and say, well, the fight was announced and they signed 30 to 45 minutes after that. How do we know that? Was it public? Is a video out on YouTube that they were signing the fucking fight? Why would that be announced? It's too many little insertions that's being placed in here as like producer notes to damn fool the people. We already been fooled by this shit for years, especially in 2022. A lot has happened in 2022, and we're farther away than we were in 21. They're not in the ring. We don't have a venue. We don't know if the damn contract is signed or not. All we're talking about now is revisions. Revisions, bro. Bud became a Frederick Douglass in boxing. Now they mad. Hey, don't kick too much education on him now. Bringing in Frederick Douglass now. Don't do that, bro. They want him to be Kunta. They don't want him to be no Frederick Douglass. They was up there calling this man Top Rank Toby. They want him to go with the PBC and be Kunta, goddammit. Bud was Top Rank Toby. Al was a slave master. LO sounds fair to me, dog. I'm just saying. Spence better worry about what Charleston White said and tie his name into. That's not a good look. It's not, bro. He was dropping some motherfucking oh my God, Charleston White was going in. This is not even a boxing dude, but he was tying Errol Spence into the hip hop artist, man. And how they was, oh man, they was fucking the same girl and all this other shit. My girl loves Coach Super Chat clip. Wakanda is everybody's phrase, fam. It's a mindset and a mentality that these low IQ fans have. Understood. But you know, primarily who they hear it from is your channel. You know what I'm saying? That's all I was saying. They primarily hear it from you. They be listening to gibberish boxing business channels, no names to be mentioned. It can be what it is, but I just have the questions, man. Like, where are the timelines? I'm not trying to get on here and continue to hold Blue Blood accountable for trying to associate himself deeply with BLK, but people be listening. I've been spearheading this shit since the beginning of this BLK bullshit, since the Brian Norman situation. You go back to the Brian Norman, I was like, okay, he brought Brian Norman on this shit, okay. And then the fight fell out. The fight was supposed to be down here in my backyard. I'm waiting on it. I'm talking. No, the fight's not gonna happen. It's rescheduled for this. Okay, boom. That day come up, it don't happen. So you tell me. Then now people catching on. They listening. All right? Because I made a big deal about the box rec. You see that got changed, didn't it? They took John Miguez off the box rec of David Avanesian. And now they just got Terrence Crawford. And then I also mentioned that Terrence Crawford didn't have a scheduled date with David Avanesian. Now he does on box rec. I guess some people made some phone calls. And say, hey, we need to clean this up a little bit. We need to make it a little bit believable now. But now let's take a gander, right? You heard what other people saying on YouTube. They now doing a little bit more digging. With BLK, we want to know when they initially reached out to Crawford and why. And for what I heard on another channel, they was trying to reach out for $20 million for a multi-fight deal. And I said, okay, so they was going to try to compete with PBC? I mean, how was that working? They was going to compete with PBC and Showtime, like $20 million? So if negotiations was still in their embryonic state, right? It was some fetal, it's some fetal composition going on there. It might have been a little bit of composition developing in this negotiation process. But if it was in the beginning stages, right? Why would the price point be $20 million? Because if by chance PBC and Showtime have not really gotten deep into the numbers, and the fact that we've been hearing 55-45 bullshit, and the outside world didn't really know what the numbers were, and then come to find out they've been trying to get a man like 30%, like I said. Why would BLK come in this bitch with $20 million? And how is that arrangement going to work with Terrence Crawford and having an opponent like Errol Spence? Who and what is going to pay Errol Spence, though? If it's $20 million for 3, how is that going to work for the first fight? What's the price point going to be on the network? Where's the fight going to be? When was the fight going to be? I mean, I need some clarification. So if Crawford was denying them and say, no, fuck that, I'm focused on Errol Spence. Okay. My question is you, if the $20 million was offered, who was going to be his first opponent? Was this another Eddie Hearns type contingency that Wilder was presented with? Oh, you fight Dominique Brazil first, and then we're going to give you Anthony Joshua for 2 fights? Is that what type of deal we talking about? That they offer him first fight David Avanesian? Or was Errol Spence the offer? I don't see how y'all don't see y'all can't. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't see what I'm getting at with this. It's like $20 million for 3 fights. How can you come up with that price point if Errol Spence is included? Because that's definitely not enough money if they're handing out the dollars to be a part of a fight of Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. So excluding Errol Spence out of it, now you have another fighter. So if the language is, which Blue mentioned, that Terrence Crawford said he was solely focused on Errol Spence, why would he have to say that if Errol Spence was the fight that was going to be the first one out of the 3-fight deal? He wouldn't have to clarify who he was focused on if that was the fighter that they was going to give him first. So let's just say it wasn't the fighter, and it was David Avanesian. Spence made it perfectly clear. Crawford made it perfectly clear he wanted to fight Spence and Spence alone. So I'm not worrying about no other shit y'all talking about. No other fighter for this amount of money. All right. Boom. Some months, some weeks, or whatever. Some weeks pass by. Negotiations are stalled. They're not going anywhere. There's a bunch of bullshit going on. A bunch of buffuckery. So Team Crawford decides to go with or reach out, because we don't know if this is true or not. This is all speculation. He decides to reach out to BOK and ask them, hey, we still good? We good? You know, Dez, we good? Because from what I'm hearing, that's the dude they communicating. I'm going to call him Dez. I ain't going to put all his freaking information out there. You know, because people think I don't have communication either. I'm just going to say that's what we're looking at. Y'all still good with that offer, that money, you know, any way we can talk, blah, blah, blah. So did Crawford reach back out, or did BOK reach back out? Because people are running with the narrative that Crawford reached back out to BOK. And then if he did, they're going to try to say, well, there you go. He didn't want the fight because he's reaching back out to BOK to make a fight with David Avanesian for more money. I don't think that's remotely close, bro. I think it got to a point where the negotiation with PBC was absolved. It didn't have any more rope to it. So if indeed Team Crawford reached out or BOK reached out and somebody was kept in touch and say, hey, where you at with it? What's your thought process? Are you moving forward or not? This, and this. And boom, they might have got to a line of departure where they said, this is it. Let's go. Let's do the paperwork. And that's where they at right now. But like I will always do all the way to December 10th, people read through the bullshit. If you say you met somebody last month in Newark, and all of a sudden this deal's blossomed into a motherfucking orchid. It did not blossom into an orchid. This shit was already in play. Talking about a fight announced and the fighters signed 30 to 45 minutes. Boxing don't work that way. To say Terrence Crawford did not know you was affiliated with BOK when you did an interview with Brian Norman 2 months ago is bogus. I'm hearing way months before that, BOK reached out to Terrence Crawford. And just like the language goes, y'all, let me remind y'all of how people sound. You see how fluent I'm talking of information that I've digested, that I've cataloged, right? You tell me. Let me get this audio right quick. You tell me what it is. Somebody's trying to create a story and shit. You tell me. I don't mean to keep on going in here, but it has to be mentioned. We're not gonna sit up here and keep on playing these games like shit ain't public information.
Everybody up, because obviously you guys know I have a partnership with BOK Prime. We are working on this Terrence Crawford fight.
I want you to pay attention to the association. The association. Pay attention to the association. We, partners, we. We doesn't mean you have an independent obligation or position of authority. That means you are a part of something. That's it.
I help work on this Terrence Crawford fight, yes. Terrence Crawford, from the moment, I'm gonna give it to you honest and real.
Remember, y'all, I don't mean to stop the video, but whenever somebody says I'm going to give it to you honest and real, they should already be respecting you as an honest and real person to begin with. But if you one of those voices that's full of shit, you have to convince the people that, hey, what I'm telling you right now is honest and real. Okay? Not the bullshit that you used to hear. It's honest and real for this one.
From the moment it looked like, and us as BOK Prime got the information that the fight may not come to fruition this year between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford wanted to stay active this year, so we reached out.
So we reached out. So we reached out. When did he not know? Because up in Newark, what was going on with these negotiations? So when did y'all reach out? Be specific, bro. If you're a part of something and you placing that tag on yourself, be specific about it. What do you mean you reached out? It's sloppy, bro. No, that's not the way you do it. If you're going to be a mouthpiece for an organization that's trying to make history and completing one of the biggest fights in boxing for the first fucking fight, you would be more detailed. Y'all reached out. Who reached out? When y'all reached out? Why can't you get a date? Is it going to interfere with the negotiation process that everybody believed that was going on between Crawford Spence?
And Terrence Crawford made it abundantly clear to us that his number one objective, no disrespect and spite towards us, and he was willing to listen to what we had to offer. But his number one objective from the beginning was to fight Errol Spence.
His number one objective from the beginning. Now you can see the twists and turns, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like someone speaking and trying to crochet at the same time. They're not really focused, and they can't be focused because they're trying to create shit. This is the first time they crocheting, dog. But this ain't the first time they lying. He's trying to crochet some shit together. When did you reach out? If Terrence Crawford saying his main focus is Errol Spence, that can't be right now, because it's been his main focus the entire months leading up for the last 5 or 6 months. Has been his focus. So you're speaking previously, because he's explaining to y'all, out of no disrespect, like you said, out of no disrespect, he's explaining to y'all his primary focus is Spence. But that wouldn't even come up if he was already deep in negotiations, because from the outside of you coming on here talking and everybody else talking about negotiations, we already know that shit's been active. So this shit you talking about, reaching out to him, that had to happen months ago. So in reality, you can't get mad at the people that saying you knew about the shit that was popping off with him trying to sign with BLK and fight David Avanesian the whole time, the last several months. You just didn't say shit about it because you was hoping the fight between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence stalls out, so you can come up here and talk about, oh, we've been putting together Errol Spence and David Avanesian. I'm a part of that. No, fuck that bullshit, bro. I'm calling bullshit on all that bullshit. I'm calling it, bro.
Nobody else. Okay? He made it abundantly clear from the very beginning, I need to fight Errol Spence Jr.
See what I'm talking about? He made it abundantly clear from the very beginning. So listen to me, people. Listen to me, man. Listen, y'all smart individuals. This very beginning shit is months ago. months ago when when Bud Crawford was entirely focused on Errol Spence Jr. He's saying it. He's just trying to crochet a motherfucking narrative, not to stab his self in the foot. That's all. He's not trying to put himself out there and put his head in the guillotine himself and get that shit chopped off by himself. You know why? Because if anybody find out, which they should, that he knew that this shit was going on months ago, that they was trying to set up some BLK shit, and he up here talking about Bud Spence. Oh, the fight date's gonna be in November. All alone, that BLK is trying to get some shit happening. So in between time, I'm guessing that BLK continued to reach out when some time went by, reach out to Crawford, because we're hearing shit in the media, right, about Crawford Spence. It's not really any progress, any traction. You know what I'm saying? We done heard the bullshit ass motherfucking tweets talking about all parties have agreed. Now the attorneys have to we heard all that retreaded shit. I'm speaking specifically on closing out the deal. The bullshit that went on was July 4th. Who was pushing that shit? Blue and everybody else was pushing it, and all his cronies. All right, boom, time went by. September 4th, supposed to be the big announcement, right? Okay, what else happened in September besides that bogus ass announcement? The fight in Newark. So when we was up there in Newark, all of a sudden, he had a chance encounter with Crawford at 7-11. It happened. He did speak. But from what I was told, that Crawford was checking him. Now, he goes up here and say that Crawford didn't even know he was with BLK. Why wouldn't he know? Why wouldn't he know you did a damn whole video announcing that you signed the first fighter? You're a motherfucking talent agent, dude. You signed the first fighter. If you are signing the first fighter like Brian Norman, who's 22-0, and you fail to get the man in the ring, then that means you really didn't sign him. Because you're not a shake and a move at BLK. You're just a mouthpiece. You're a remote outsider. You may have some communication via cell phone, but you're not really mixing it up. They ain't inviting you to the workspace. And if indeed you're invited to the workspace, you need to be taking pictures so you can document this shit. So when all this stuff comes to fruition, you can slam it back on me and say, you know what? I told you the entire time that's what it was, and it was. You should be taking pictures. You should be taking notes. You should be doing all this shit. But right now, it doesn't look good, bro, because you're saying back then we initially reached out. This has been an ongoing situation.
He even stated, I'm going to fight Errol Spence Jr. because I'm going to whip his ass. Everybody think that I'm going to lose to him.
Man, that's been out in the media forever and a day. That ain't nothing new.
I want to fight Errol Spence. So if that happens to fall through, we can visit the opportunity of giving you guys the opportunity to help me stay busy.
So there you go. Crawford's in negotiation while BOK is communicating with him. Crawford's in communication. So if Blue is up here speaking as if he's been on a ride along, right? The Uber, the Lyft, you know what I'm saying? Is he's been sharing a ride with BLK this entire time. That means they reached out to Crawford early on when they believed negotiations had just started or haven't started yet. But Crawford told them his main objective was Errol Spence. So from what I'm hearing, that he didn't give them any attention. He was focused on PBC and getting that shit done. That's where his primary objective has been. Now, when it comes down to everything else, all of a sudden the negotiations start and we had a chance encounter and these fools running around here talking about, oh, Blue had a hand in making the Crawford Avanesian fight. No, the fuck he didn't. First of all, they haven't stepped in the ring yet. You have to get some representative from BLK on your channel to get some clarification so more people can understand what's going on. So more people can be tuned in and support BOK. And if you really want that clout, then they can say your name and say, hey, check this out. He is a legitimate, solid holder, a partner with us. Being he has this big channel, right? So BLK don't have various channels out here on YTC. And Blue is the only one out here with all the subscribers he got. Why wouldn't they have a much more prominent role and come on his channel and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we got going on right now. This is what we working on. This is how it all went down for a little bit on the back end. Negotiations began to stall around the beginning of September or whatever. So at that time, we received the confirmations that the negotiation has severed. Now, this wasn't released to the public, of course, but behind the scenes, we was communicating. And at that time, we decided to open up negotiations with Terrence Crawford, which he agreed to this, and this. And we decided to move forward. And then they can identify if indeed the timeline is correct. When this shit was announced, the fighter signed 30 to 45 minutes after it was announced. It's not like it's to the public, though. They're not signing in front of the public, so why give a time frame? You trying to tell me they severed negotiations that day it was announced? Or they severed negotiations the day before and found out it was going to be announced tomorrow, and then they signed 30 to 45 minutes after that.
Right? And so, once it got to the twilight hours and Terrence Crawford understood and realized that he was not going to fight Errol Spence this year. So I see people asking me, well, Blue, he had this plan in place. He was already signed to fight David Avanesian. No, he was not. David Avanesian and Terrence Crawford both signed a deal yesterday.
My question to you, when did you find out that they wasn't fighting this year? Because when the news broke, the word is it was complaining about, let me just get the tweet. Why play around with this shit? Let me get to the chat right quick. He said, man, none of this makes sense, but everyone think they know based on much misinformation. And look, that can go for me too. I'm just trying to put the pieces together to have a picture. Now, those pictures, the pieces may be scrambled and shit like that, but I'm what I can't put together, somebody else can. I'm just trying to gather a timeline of all this information that's out here on the YTC and put it all together to make it make sense, because you have to do deductive reasoning with this. You have to gather all the evidence and put it in order. And if all the evidence that you have, the formula, provides you the result to make sense to all what you've asking and trying to figure this shit out, if the results give you the answer that you're looking for, then that's where you at with it. If it don't, you got to continue to get evidence, man. And I'm continuing to try to get evidence on what's shaky about this timeline of information. It's shaky to me. Where's that? Let me see. Where's that shit? Hold on for a second. I'm going through some. I know I saved it. Let me see. That's an old one. Oh, let me go down. I'm too far up anyway. Damn. Let me see. That's him complaining. Okay, let me go to my. I know where it's at now. Let me see. I thought I had the tweet that was sent out. When they initially put the word out that they was pretty much concerned about Terrence Crawford because they sent the revisions back and they haven't heard anything. So they're not sure if he's committed to the fight. I was looking for that tweet. I know I screenshot it. Hold on. All right. So I'm unable to locate the screenshot that I had. I thought I had it saved up here. But it's pretty much talking about when the information initially broke. And, matter of fact, I know where to find it. Y'all give me a minute. If you're in the building, hit the like button. I'm just looking for. Dang, time go by so fast. I know it's coming up. Let me see if this is it. They just talking about Crawford striking a deal. Crawford told ESPN struck a deal. Avenasian, blah blah blah. Boom boom boom. If y'all have a link as to where they initially broke the news, just drop it in the chat. I don't know how I misplaced that. Well, you know what? I'm gonna let it ride. I'm gonna let it ride because I'm not gonna go into detail. It's not that important to me to go into detail about it all right now via the article, but I'll get back to it. Round robin, you feel me? Blunt said he's literally repeating information we already know. We already know all that. And then when the people talk that slow, they're trying to damn piece shit together so they don't damn cut their head off. You know, real talk. They're trying to piece shit together so they don't cut their head off. If you talk to them previously, that means you never let anybody know that other plans was in the work if this fight didn't happen. That would have further provided you more credibility if you would have put it out there earlier, but you might not have permission to put it out there earlier because you didn't know if it was going to happen anyway, and you didn't want to have people thinking it was malicious tampering. You know what I'm saying? You didn't want that to happen. So now that supposedly y'all connected and he's fighting and the fight is scheduled and all that, you want to make it seem like that this just happened recently. And the only way it happened, you gotta check yourself now. You try to act like it happened on a chance encounter with Crawford in 7-11, but yet when you speak on it, you're insinuating that Crawford reached back out to you all because y'all had spoke to him earlier, and he reached back out to you all. Now that the negotiation between him and Spence was drawing to a close with him, or whatever it happened, he reached back out. Now, which one was it? Because if he reached back out to you all, that had to be before Newark. So pretty much from the fight in Newark where you had the encounter to now, Crawford decided possibly to close down the negotiation and reach back out to BLK. But that's not what I'm getting. Because it seems like this particular communication might have been going on several weeks before that and Newark even happened. You know what I'm saying? And then it's not making sense if that was an encounter at 7-11 and you saying he didn't know. So why is everybody else acting like you're a prominent role player in BLK if the fighter that y'all trying to get for one of the mega fights of BLK's history, why they didn't know that they had a partnership with somebody on the YouTube community? It just so happened to be a channel that he doesn't like. So BLK is going to reach out to Team Crawford and they're not going to do research? Nobody? Bernie? So Cold? Bomac? Nobody's going to reach out and do research? Nobody's following any other time. You know, Team Crawford is over here on the channels and in the Facebook groups and all this, what y'all say, but nobody's going to do research. Nobody's going to look through his catalog on YouTube and say, hey, they try to sign Brian Norman. Nobody asked from Team Crawford to say, how many other fighters have you signed? How many other fighters? Cut to the chase. Let's get down to the wickets. To the core, though. How many other fighters have you signed? Well, we got Brian Norman right now. That would have been the conversation. So who's making the moves? Where the paperwork at? You said to your people, you signed them. Where was the paperwork at? And how did you process that paperwork? Because I'm sure this paperwork is signed. I'm sure there's money that's probably been exchanged one way or the other. But this whole timeline that I'm speaking on and that you speaking on, it's not making any sense, bro. It's not making any sense at all.
Terrence Crawford, for one, Terrence Crawford didn't even know my partnership with BLK Prime. at the time he saw me in 7-Eleven. Crawford didn't even know my partnership with BOK Prime at the time he saw me in 7-Eleven. Oh. Dude, hit him with the Homer Simpson, $7.
I don't believe that Team Crawford is that naive not to check on any information. Anybody who knows BLK Prime, being that this particular streaming platform has never put on a fight of this magnitude, I'm pretty sure that humanistically, I'm just assuming and the natural instinct of a human, especially in Crawford's position for this amount of money, that he asked the questions, right? He asked the questions. Not only did he ask the questions, if you're dealing with the boxing game, they're going to ask, so have you signed any other fighters? Brian Norman's name had to come up. If Crawford entertained a little bit of the conversation early, several months earlier, he definitely asked these questions. He's just not going to take a phone call and it says, BLK Prime, this is so-and-so. How you doing, champ? Good to talk to you for the first time. We just wanted to know if you're willing to do some business with us. And what business is that? Well, looking at everything you've been through, we just want to see if you want to sign with us for a 3-fight deal, the fight David Avanesian. Well, you know anything about boxing? How many other fighters have you signed? The conversation didn't go dead like that, y'all. Did they say, well, do you know YouTube community? Yeah. One of our talent agents signed Brian Norman Jr. You know who Brian Norman Jr. is? And Crawford would have said, yeah, I know who he is. We sparred down in Atlanta. Yeah, he's the first fighter that we signed. See, they didn't tell you that. They didn't break that shit down to you. You know what I'm saying? Crawford know who Brian Norman Jr. is. He knows who Brian Norman Jr. is. So if they had to tell him that they signed Brian Norman, then he's going to start doing research. He knows people who knows Norman. He knows what gym he trains out of. They're boxers, bro. He sparred Brian Norman Jr. You think Crawford don't know Brian Norman? They sparred, man. Y'all remember all the hoopla, hayla that was going around here from that sparring session? Yeah. He knows. Put the shit together. You think Crawford's not going to ask questions? This is the boxing game. How many other fighters y'all signed? How many other shows have you put on? Why me? They would have told him right off the rip, oh, we got Brian Norman Jr. I can imagine what his response was. So you picked him to be the face of your organization. Okay. So how many fights have you covered for him so far? Oh, we had 3 fall out. Okay. So how you going to lock me in? Tell me that. How you going to lock me in? That's all. How you going to lock me in, shawty? I need something different than just talk. How you going to lock me in? How do I know all this is solid? Look, we can't pretend like Crawford didn't get his attorneys on the phone. Hey, can you do a little research about this BLK? You think they didn't know that Brian Norman 2 months ago had been on there and he had already signed, bro? And he's trying to fake the funk like Crawford didn't know he was with BLK. Man, stop the motherfucking press, bro. Stop lying to us. God damn. You ain't lying to me because you weren't speaking to me directly. I'm just taking your information. I've just been hearing all kinds of wild shit at this point. I'm just going to wait till the dust settles. The dust ain't going to be able to settle when I'm kicking that motherfucker up. The dust ain't going to be able to settle, shawty. Because people have to understand, if you're going to go to the damn IG and tell me, I'm going to tell my kids we was responsible for making Crawford Avanesian. Are you stupid? Are you dumb? What the fuck are you talking about? Yahoo Sports said BLK Prime shit would have been going on for months. Yeah. Hey, man. Let's not play stupid. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Gumbo on deck, man. $5 super chat in a building, Cinco. I made a mistake at the 7-Eleven buying a slushie, so what? Hey, what I can say, what I know, right, is that an encounter did happen, but it wasn't no business encounter. And then check this out. Let me provide you another piece of crucial information, right? This is why people is on his ass for knowing all along. If you say that you ran into Crawford at 7-Eleven, how in the fuck is a conversation gonna come up about BLK? How the fuck a conversation gonna come up about BLK? If he's checking you on some, why are you against me and this and this and this and shit, how did the conversation arise about BLK if Crawford don't know you were BLK? Who initiated that? Who initiated it, bro? Who initiated? If Crawford didn't know you was with BLK and he came over there on some whole nother different temperature, how did the conversation start about BLK? What did you say? Hey, man, you know what? I know what's going on with BLK and you and this, and this. Oh, you do? I ain't know you was with BLK. People, I'm telling you, don't believe that bullshit. There's no way in hell that if you saying Crawford didn't know you was with BLK, so how did the conversation strike up? If he's still in negotiations and he's telling people on the spot, right, we're at Newark. Me, Showtime, everybody else, we at Newark. They still saying they in negotiations. Crawford didn't say the shit was off. He didn't say the shit was off. He did not say the fight negotiation was off. That just broke. We was way out of Newark by then. How did the conversation about BLK become a topic if he did not know you was affiliated with them? That's all I want to know. If he didn't know you was affiliated with him, how did you bring it up? Because you would have had known way ahead of time because the news just broke recently. So you had to know months ahead of time if you was holding on to this information and Crawford didn't know you was with BLK, but all of a sudden you're trying to convince people that you talked to Crawford and y'all reached out again. Crawford didn't know you was associated with BLK. So how did the conversation happen in Newark again? Like everybody's trying to pretend like you had a situation in 7-Eleven that led to the conversation on BLK. How long did you know? If they was reaching out to Crawford, how long did you know? And how did the conversation come up between you and Crawford about BLK in Newark, if it even did? Because Crawford wasn't talking about the negotiation was off. If the negotiation was off, why not get it out in the public? Why not get it out in the public? Why not announce that it's off? It's over a month, damn near a month passed, close to a month. And all of a sudden the news is breaking that negotiations off. But yet you was in Newark and you had this encounter. And you tried to make it seem like it was the beginning stages of Crawford signing over to David Avanesian to fight David. Come on, bro. It's too much back and forth shit. But shout out to Mr. Gumbo, man, with the $5 super chat, man. Salute to you, brother. Much appreciated. One love, brother. We got to exchange emails so I can get some of the music. Shout out to Mr. Gumbo once again with the $5 super chat on deck. It started like this: Crawford don't hit me. I'm a black man. You know what I'm saying? Like they couldn't use that because these cats was running with top rank Toby. They wanted this man to leave top rank and go over to PBC and become Kunta. Real talk. I'm surprised they ain't start calling that man Kunta. How does all this add up? You know, Crawford didn't know you was with BLK, so he gonna just start discussing business with you, a channel that he didn't like. He's gonna start discussing business with you and a channel he didn't like. Some ain't adding up, Shawty. Some ain't adding up, man. He gonna discuss business with you in Newark. He's gonna trust you enough to bring up BLK, and he don't know you associated with BLK, so it's just gonna pop out of nowhere. Or you say, hey, I know it looks bad, but listen, you know BLK that's reaching out to you. Those are my partners. Like on some triple OG shit or something. Oh, that's my partners right there. You didn't know that? Yeah. I'm the grand poop of all that shit. I'm just not getting it. Appreciate Mr. Gumbo with the $5 super chat, my brother. One love to you. Appreciate everyone that's in the chat. Thank you for pulling up. Hit the like button if you in here. Hold up for a second. Let me see what this is. So y'all do it from yourself, man. When it comes down to all this nonsense that's going out, you have the channels that's gonna continue to just point the finger and blame Bud Crawford. But as we walk through life as people, right? We supposed to just sit down and just take a bullshit ass garbage deal and get taken advantage of, the shit we advocate against. You feel me? Like, this man is at the peak of his career, almost out the door, and he just supposed to try to take less money, which he did. He signed off, agreed to shit, everything, but they wanted the fight to happen next year. Why? Spence fought in April. What the fuck are you talking about, man? Why does this shit have to go down in 23? Another obstacle, bro. Another obstacle for the Spencerholics, the dance around and with the pom-poms and shit, and the cheerleader skirts, and goddamn make some more videos trying to put the finger, point the finger on blood, but on Bud. But what you should be doing is trying to tie down this timeline of deception. You should be trying to figure that shit out, because it ain't adding up at all. You got a lot of niggas running around here trying to take credit for goddamn making this fight happen. Let me see how much money. Show me a goddamn pay stub of the percentage that you're getting off 10 million. Not only that, if you participated in Bud Crawford and David Avanesian, which is supposed to be a 10-8 type, 10 million for Bud, an 8 figure, and then we're talking about 8 million for David. 18 million, you got to be getting a cool 500. What's the percentage? What's the going rate for a talent agent in an $18 million deal? Check this out. It's higher than that, because you got to pay for all the other things that goes along with that, man. So we could be well over 20 million. So you take 20 million, it has to be a nice little, what's the going price, man, for a talent agent? Are we talking about 200,000, 300,000? What's the going price, bro? We need to figure this out. What's the going price, man? That's all I'm saying. I need some evidence. I don't care who's riding around here trying to damn be all upset and yelling and screaming. That mean y'all listening, dog. You know it makes sense. Y'all know it makes sense, man. Y'all don't want to hold them accountable, bro. Y'all know this timeline is some absolute bullshit, bro. When someone talks slow, I'm going to keep it honest and real with you. I'm going to keep it honest and real. All right, honest and real. That's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you the honest and real. Now, when we sent the phone call out to him. Now, this timeline has to match up somehow, some way. But when somebody is telling you a story and they're providing no intricate details, that means names of the month, a range of the month, I'm talking about name of a month, range of months, a window, anything to give us a time to land the fucking plane. We just want a landing zone so we can start with. You don't give us that. You don't give us that. You don't give us when the negotiation was severed and the paperwork was sent out to both fighters. We don't have any of that information. So in the meanwhile, I'm going to get up out of here and make some phone calls. Because I'm going to figure it out, whether you like it or not. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure this shit out. And look, y'all. Look, it's October 23rd. December 10th is around the corner now. December 10th is around the fucking corner, dog. December 10th is the second week in December. You feel me? So if you go in there and you say, so you can take it from today to December 10th. Let me see what we're looking at. We have a total of 48 days. 1 month and 18 days. We have a total of 48 days. You heard it right here, people. 48 days. So let me go back over here to StreamYard. 48 days to the grand finale. 48 days to the grand finale. 48 days. That's where we at. We're in a boxing twilight zone. I could have sworn I just heard somebody else say that on another channel. So I hope you ain't regurgitate. I just heard somebody say that on another channel, bro. BLK is a mystery to me. Big numbers are being floated around. Huge numbers being floated around. 10 million, 8 million. Total of 18, not to include all the other collateral expenses that we have to believe they're dealing with. And you say, right, this guy who has promoted the complete slander of Crawford's career is now getting a percentage of his check. What is going on? I'd just like to know what the percentage is, even if there is a percentage. Because that's a lot. That should be a lot. It's a lot that you can consider with 18 to 20 million. Let's just say 18 to be safe. And then a little small percentage of that, that's a lot. Even if it's 100 grand. Even if it's 100 grand, man. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money to be dealing with. But I don't care about the money. I'm caring about the authenticity of what you're reporting in this particular situation. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to figure out. Because if indeed you're attempting to elevate for the first time on YouTube, you're trying to, you have cleaned it up though. Believe me, I know why you cleaned it up. Believe me. You saying we and us. No. Keep it the same energy. Make it seem like you are the one that's spearheading everything. You are the front runner. You are the lead. Keep the same energy. Don't clean it up. No, don't clean it up. Keep the same energy, bro. If you're gonna lie, own that lie. What's going on, Sir Senior? Salute to you, bro. But I'm gonna leave it right there, man. Okay, all right, cool, Andrew, for sure. But I'm gonna leave it like that, man. I've been on here for damn near 3 hours, man. And you know what I'm saying? We're gonna see how this thing work itself out, man. We're gonna see how it work itself out. I gotta make some phone calls tonight. I'm gonna figure this shit out. I am going to figure what's really going on. You know, I hope the fight happened though. I really want to see Crawford go in there and pick up his 39th victory, and you know, his 30 knockout. You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah, for sure, no doubt. But until then, man, appreciate y'all for pulling up as always. You know, y'all stay away from these cats like that. You know what I'm saying? Stay away from these dudes like that. They dangerous. They'll be telling you some lies up in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But know that the Crawford pretty much did what he said he wanted to do. Stay heavy on negotiations and focus on Errol Spence. It can't happen if Errol Spence don't want to fight, and he's now whining about his weight, amongst other things. You know, so we just got to continue to push true media out there about this situation. I'm not gonna fabricate anything. I'm just trying to get down to the bottom of what's been going on. That's all. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. If it's any validity to what he got popping, then we'll see in upcoming weeks in November, because they got to start promoting this motherfucker. They got to start promoting it. This is not the promo yet. Even though I found this out there, this is not the promo. You know what I'm saying? This is not something I did. But we need dates on that. We need dates. But y'all hold it down, man. Continue to support the channel, man. Hit the like button. Sub to a brother.